Good afternoon. It is almost 3 o'clock on the 22nd of this fine fourth month of 2026. For all you fans of the insanity known as the Dan Risis Show, I have a great show for you today because I plan on announcing my selection for the 2028 presidential election. Let me adjust my chair. So all you conspiracy theorists out there who don't give a fuck about this channel. So, hey Jamie, how you doing?
Hey.
How you doing with that ice over there?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for checking in.
Can I also, so for anyone at home that's wondering what I'm going to be drinking, it's not going to be a jar full of scotch. Because even though it's a brown liquid, it is the Panavino iced tea. I'm a big fan. I used to work at Panavino. And essentially, for anyone that's wondering, Jamie, could you do me a favor? Could you just fill this up with the actual iced tea?
Yeah.
Thanks. World's best assistant, I assure you. But communication is always an issue. I will give Jamie a lot of credit about something, and that is, for anyone that cares about Jamie and or human health, we've just lost the entire audience, Jamie.
Totally. They're like, oh, next. Fast
For
forward.
anyone who gives a shit about this, Jamie hasn't drank anything in, how long has it been?
A couple of months.
A couple of months?
Yeah.
How many months do you think it's been? You think it's been 90 days?
At least, yeah.
All right, awesome. So for Miss Resnick, I don't have any coins, nor is this a program. You know, a lot of people, Jamie, I don't know if you know this, there's a lot of people who associate Alcoholics Anonymous with the word cult.
Really?
They call it very cultish, yeah.
Oh.
I disagree with those people on a personal basis, but I am going to give you a little token to remember.
Oh, thank you.
And
it feels really good.
I'm
you
thinking
really are, have
90
been very supportive.
90 degrees. Sorry. And I crossed out the degrees, 90 days. Because, you know, the reality is the whole degrees part is supposed to be 180. And then I'm going to go ahead and sign it. And you can go ahead and frame it. And honestly, if you do, are you planning on doing one of those things where you don't want to drink ever for the rest of your life?
Yep.
You are, right? Okay, awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give Jamie this $1. If you do have a drink, do you mind returning the $1 back to me?
I will return it to you.
Awesome. That doesn't mean you're not going to get it back.
Thank you.
But hey, congratulations.
Thank you. I feel
For anyone
great.
that cares, this wasn't anything that like Jamie set out for or anything like that. As a matter of fact, there were like random days over the last couple of months where I'd be like, hey, you want to grab a drink or take a shot or something like that after like a big day or something. And it wasn't for me. I hate the taste of alcohol. I don't know if anyone cares or knows, but I am very, very happy, and that's one of the reasons why Miss Resnick has continued to really lose weight the healthy way. And for anyone that's wondering, there is a certain line that I don't cross on this channel anymore. And a lot of the reason for that is because as time passed, could you do me a huge favor? Could you adjust this light over here so it's a little bit stronger on the old bald spot up here? No, I'm just kidding. So when you look down, believe it or not, there is a level of, you have to pivot the actual light first. First start with that. Pivot! Come on, what show?
Friends, obviously.
All right, awesome. No, I asked Jamie when she did.
How's that?
Good enough.
Your max light.
I wasn't saying adjust the light to make it higher. I was saying adjust the actual. Jamie, please just.
Sorry, I thought you were like.
It's okay, guys. Look.
This is us.
Look, she's making movies in real life. It's a shitty television show from NBC, but it's still good enough. So Jamie, so for anyone that's wondering, while Jamie's being accused of being a drug addict or something like that, she's actually by herself quitting alcohol. And I say by herself is because I didn't even realize that she's made a serious commitment until yesterday.
It's true.
I thought the first couple of times she said no drinking, I'm like, all right, that's cool. You know, like I don't drink, so like I don't mind that. For anyone that's wondering, I like steak, but I don't like alcohol. So one of the things I used to, I was introduced to nice steak by Ben Negrin, who used to take me to, him and his dad took me to Peter Luger's a couple of times, and the drink of choice there would be a Beck's beer.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a German steakhouse. So
Yeah.
for some reason, Beck's beer was
Makes
the,
sense.
Does it?
Yeah.
I think beer tastes horrible, and all of it tastes the same. So I found it funny that like a German beer was paired with a German steak. Hold on a second. So, wow. And so what I find to be extremely funny is one of the things I realized is, oh, by the way, Laughing Buddha obviously shit the money bed and couldn't get their shit together to send me an email. So I'm going to be working on simply the menu for Drake's. It's an hour away. Sorry, it's the best I could do under the circumstances. But good news for the people of Lehigh Valley.
Good news.
Yeah, so essentially I'm going to start out small. There's no reason to really go crazy. My initial menu is going to be posted publicly, and I just want to like let everybody know I am not a stand-up comedian. I just found it to be extremely rewarding, entertaining, and it was a good experience for me. And I thought that it was a mutually beneficial experience where I can be the bad guy that the audience wants to see. But it seems to me like my brand of comedy, as well as my ability to communicate or talk on the fly, scared the management to a point where they're not able to maintain their superiority as being the funniest people. Because why would anyone go to a comedy club if the owner didn't know how to spot talent? So if you're going to a place where you have a human being who completely destroyed all the other comics, he goes on YouTube, he calls them out, he makes a really interesting tile pick. Everything was done by me.
Yes.
And there's crickets and silence.
Yep.
So all that says to me is that you guys are just too afraid of a real challenge, which is okay. It's like the same thing as like if you show up to a fight and the other person just doesn't show up. Now, I have no interest in an actual conflict. I was merely trying to incite a kind of like when two fighters have a weigh-in.
Yeah, I think the two things. One, I think that.
But they're just like, oh my god.
They reacted in such a way, but like either you're funny or you're not funny. That's your job. You're a comedian.
I used to think I wasn't funny until I realized how
handle...
funny it is that a comedy club can't handle a challenge.
No.
Like literally a comedy club.
No.
So like with a comedy club, so what I was saying was on the ride home, I was like thinking about a couple of things, and I was like, wait a second. I had a bunch of, one of the kids, the funniest one out of the not funny crew was actually in AA. Yeah. And he started talking about sobriety and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He was an NA, right?
Yeah,
because
cocaine.
he was the one that bought cocaine. With
yeah,
Venmo.
He was really funny about it.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. And he got his inheritance.
He's young too.
No, he's young.
So
yeah.
he's sober and
so
young.
and I liked him. I thought that he was the funniest one.
Yeah,
if there's anyone who stands a chance, would be that guy. I mean, but like, there's thousands of comedians in New York City. It's New York City. Like every asshole at a bar is funny. And that's like that's the kind of level of comedy that I saw on display. I saw dudes that are like, like funny. Like
they're funny.
They're funny. Like their friends think they're funny. They have dry humor. They might have had some exposure. They're funny. But in my opinion, you really need to be a professional. And for me, I can't do anything with like 5-10 minutes or even a set. I need challenges. I need human beings who really hate me. Remember at one point, one guy, he spent the majority of his 5 minutes explaining that he's autistic, and then he starts yelling at me saying, nobody likes you. So I'm not sure if that's the autism speaking or the guy is actually just being honest and saying nobody likes you. But either way, I felt like that was a really awesome, thank you. I want to be like, all right, thank you. Yeah, it seems like I affected you in your set, which really, and that's why, That's all I have to say. And there's a certain somebody out there that knows exactly what this means.
You can dance-plain it.
I can dance-plain it. You know, a lot of people don't understand what dance-planning is. Dance-planning is what I do. Now, mansplaining
There's
is
no
not
X,
something...
it's just splaining.
Dance-splaining.
Yeah.
Dance, it sounds like my name is Dan Splainin. Like, Mr. Splainin! You know, that's what it sounds like. I don't know if you... Dan Splainin?
Dan.
Like, what is that, Dutch? You know? Todd Gack? Yeah, Dan Splainin. I would put like an H in there somewhere. I would put an H. In honor of the Laughing Buddha, my non-existent code
Your
name.
stage name.
My stage name is Dan Splainin. But like, you gotta spell it so you can't like understand it. Like,
I'll work on it.
Like, do it right now to tell me how we explain it. How will it look in the yellow pages? For all you young comedians out there, a yellow pages is something what's known as a directory. Also, if you don't have a bulletproof vest, it's very convenient to put on front of your chest in a case of emergency. But now that everyone uses a cell phone, the quantity of human beings being shot in public has skyrocketed because people can't put a yellow pages in front of them. It's good as a, I don't know if anyone's seen have you ever seen the movie Ricochet?
No.
It's a pretty mediocre movie except for like 2 parts. There's 2 parts that are really good. If anyone that's wondering, this means I love you, not cornotto. But in different cultures, it means different things. So in Italy, did you know what this is? You know what this is in Italian?
Well, in Italian, with the 3 fingers? No.
Well, the third
There's
finger.
There's 2 separate signs you're putting.
In Italian, you could put a 6th finger over here. It doesn't matter. The 2 horns means cornotto, which is the horns of the...
Cornotto.
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 You ever see Weekend at Bernie's?
Yes, I don't remember.
So, you remember the part where the assassin guy who's been chasing Bernie shows up and he just like unloads a revolver into Bernie?
No.
Okay. You know, we watch a lot of movies. I don't know if I can make it through Weekend at Bernie's at the age of 43.
I don't think so either.
There's a little bit too much. Oh, that's cool. All right. So my middle name would be Xander. Yo, I'll tell you something about somebody named Xander. So I was once, Gary and I were, well, I was pretending to be in jail. Gary was actually in jail. So we were like stuck at a border jail, like in Tequila Sunrise or Blow. And Gary was great. He was there for about 72 hours, but he like made it seem like he was there for life. So he like, Gary's birthday was a couple of days ago, so I'll tell you some vintage Gary stories. So we were in this like dormitory in Plattsburgh, and you know, my mind is focused on a lot of stuff, but Gary was a big reader, so he was totally okay with just, there was like a ton of books, he was okay with reading, so he went to the bathroom. There's no bathroom, it's just like it's just a concrete wall that surrounds, and it's kind of open. You could put like a sheet up or whatever. And I'm like sitting there, and I'll tell you, first I was, one of the most interesting parts about getting arrested at a border jail is like, it is like the equivalent of one of those giant spinning wheels of criminals, and you don't know who you're gonna get, because it's only the people that were arrested in the middle of their criminal career, randomly.
Okay.
Which means that there was no actual, like, they didn't get arrested hurting someone, they didn't get arrested selling drugs, they didn't get arrested, whatever, they got arrested for smuggling whatever substance was about to be smuggled in.
Okay.
So, for me, I found it to be extremely entertaining of the people who I met there, because one of the things that's really interesting about that border jail is, you want to talk about all walks of life, first and foremost, there was a lot of Canadians there. People who literally live on the border of America do not speak English. I found that to be extremely fascinating. Like, don't you think it's interesting that a human being can live 5 miles from the
100%.
American border
Totally.
and be like, not a Native American Mexican? And I say that because I know that in the Mexican area, there is massive gaps where human beings are just simply unexposed to civilization, which is understandable. But when you get humans that are fully civilized, that live 5 miles from the Canadian border and the American border, who do not speak a word of English, it is fucking weird. I also find it to be weird that Americans who live in that area don't speak any French. So There's people that live in Montreal who are Canadians their whole lives and only speak one of those two languages.
Like, that's amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I would have to say 50% of the country is like that.
Yeah.
The other 50% is bilingual, and then the other side of the country doesn't speak any French, like Toronto and things like that. And then
So what were you saying about Gary reading?
So I'm sitting there and I meet this guy named Xander.
Okay.
And Xander, you know what Xander's job was? See, that's the thing. Like, my life is filled with so many insanely entertaining stories that I have no reason to make anything up. So, so Xander was. Do you remember when Red Bull first came out?
Yeah.
They used to have these like tiny little Suzuki Jeeps with like the Red Bull behind there. So Xander drove one of those Jeeps.
Okay, first of all, I tried to get one of those cars.
Oh my God.
Because I was like, it's a free, you basically get a car for free.
So Xander was very, very redheaded. Like, he was like, all of his body hair was red hair. And he was there, and his girlfriend was in the female pod, and he was there for forgetting that his girlfriend had ecstasy in her vagina.
What?
And I was like, how do you forget about something
Yeah,
like
right.
that? He's like, well, we were like smuggling it in, and then we decided not to, but like I'm still tripping, and I'm like, oh my God. So he wasn't a drug dealer or anything like that. He drove, and this is all a true story. So he drove the Red Bull truck, and this is 2001.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was kind of an interesting story because like we always saw those trucks, but I didn't know that there was a real person. He's like, sometimes I drive with the Red Bull, and sometimes I wear the Red Bull and the other person drives. I'm like, okay. And he's like, dude, I got to tell you something. I was like, what's up, Xander? He goes, don't ever drink Red Bull. I was like, why? He's like, because there's like guarana and then there's something else in the Red Bull, and we are always told to like never drink
the product.
never drink the product. Like, you can pour it out. What we always do is we pour it out before the shows, and we fill it up with either water or something like that. So when you see us drinking the different bottles and things like that, we don't drink actually Red Bull. I go, is this a joke? Like, I didn't know if the guy was joking or not, but he wasn't joking. And
Those drinks, it's like the Celsius. Like,
it's similar.
That
So I one of the things that I don't know if anyone picked up on this, but I have a little bit of ADD.
A smidge.
A smidge. So I'm extremely fast. So for anyone that's wondering, Adderall and things like that, like I hate Adderall. Things like that are really designed for people like me who don't have the ability, well, for doctors who think that people like me don't have the ability to concentrate. But I'm able to multitask on many different things, which make it extremely disturbing for people who want to classify me as being mentally disabled. What I am is an adult living with a disability. That disability is determined by a medical board, which has classified what I have as being a fully recognizable by the federal government disability. That doesn't mean that I have anything except extra time on tests, and there is additional consideration for certain elements that are easy for normal people and very difficult for people like myself. Yep. So like, as a pro se litigant, the courts really should have recognized my disability once I made them aware of it, instead of keep pretending every single time I mention it, they're like, we don't know what you're talking about.
It's true. It makes a huge difference when you're...
But, like I said, I didn't really recognize the issue until I saw that they're ignoring what I'm trying to tell them.
Yeah.
And I realized that it is a big problem.
It is.
And it's a much bigger problem than I realized, because why else would they be ignoring it and not addressing the issue? Like, if I was a judge and there's a human being that wheeled their way into my courtroom, I would say, Mr. So-and-so, clearly you're handicapped, so it's not going to be easy for you to maneuver inside of a courtroom. What can we do to make things easier? And like, if I was handicapped, I would say, well, can you please put an L-shaped desk so that I don't need to wheel myself back and forth, and I can just pivot. And then I have the enough surface area to cover it. And then a judge can say, that seems like a very reasonable request. And that's what I would request if I were handicapped. And for me, I had made several verbal requests, and what I was actually just trying to ask for is just please stop yelling at me. And they don't. They continue to yell at me and accuse me of having bad behavior. I listened to my transcripts, and the judges are lying. they're not telling the truth. They're lying. Like I'm on YouTube right here saying the judges are lying. I have the transcripts that fully back up everything I'm saying.
You do.
So the issue that I'm having with this entire thing is that, wait a second, what were we actually talking about?
Let's go back to Gary reading.
Oh, Gary. So we were in this border jail, and Xander. So Xander, I'm sitting at one of those like quad tables where like the chair is welded to. It's like the steel, that like curved steel, and the table is like square.
It's a round picnic table that's.
It's a square picnic table with
ground.
4 chairs all around it, and there's like a dozen of these tables in the day room, and that's where the food comes when the food comes or whatever. And
So you don't need in a cafeteria.
in that jail, the food that was the best food jail I've ever. Can I tell you something about?
Yeah.
Can I? Well, Tupac once stayed there, and he hated
It's
it.
like it's a hotel.
Well, I cleaned Lil Wayne's cell.
He once stayed there.
Yeah, well, Tupac not only was there, but the DA that filed charges against me, her name is Penny Clute, and can you Google it to see if we're ask, you know what, you know how, about if Penny Clute is a valid district attorney for, I want to say, what is the name? It's not Mascouche County, but
What state?
New York. It's upstate New York, Plattsburgh, maybe Plattsburgh County. I don't remember. I want to say it's a Native American name.
Penelope Clute?
Yeah, Penny Clute. Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to tell you.
So Tupac, in a song called "Picture Me Rollin'," you ever heard of that song?
Yes.
So in either the beginning or the end of the song, I think it's at the end. Tupac's like. So before I even tell me if I'm accurate.
Okay.
Was I right, Penny Clute?
You are, but now I just lost her. But yes, she is a real district attorney or whatever.
All right, so this is what happened. So Tupac and Mike Tyson. So with Mike Tyson, it was Southern New York, whatever, it doesn't matter. It was all New York. But Tupac was accused of either having relations with an underage female or being too aggressive. Can you look up what Tupac was accused of and what his sentence was? Because he was in he went to Dannemora, but before he went to Dannemora, I think it's Dannemora County actually. Now that I think about it, but
Tupac Shakur was convicted in December 1994 of first-degree sexual abuse for a 1993 incident involving a 19-year-old fan in his New York hotel room. He was sentenced in February 1995 to 1.5 to 4.5 years in prison, but served only 8 months, being released on October 1995 after Suge Knight.
Suge Knight? Like, even I know that.
Paid his appeal bond.
Okay, and then he kind of won on his appeal.
He was found guilty of 3 counts of sexual abuse, but acquitted of the more serious charge of first-degree sodomy and weapons charges.
And what, did he get time served, or did he have to go back?
He began his sentence at the Clinton Correctional Facility, Dannemora, on February 14th, 1995, and
so
was
it's Clinton
released.
Correctional. Clinton County, oh my God, Clinton County, holy shit. I just remembered it. So the reason why I forgot it was because it's just so obvious, but Clinton County, she was the DA for Clinton County. So he began, so how much time did he actually serve? So that's the whole thing.
8 months.
He served 8 months and then a bond was posted.
Yeah.
How much did he serve after that? Maybe you read it wrong, but.
Hold on.
How much total jail time? Just ask how much. So essentially, Dannemora, there's like a whole show that Ben Stiller filmed called Escape from Dannemora. It's a really like a wild place. Like the entire community revolves around the prison. A lot of those New York or like, I mean, I guess it's a uniform pattern all throughout the country, but
He was released on
when there's like
October
a prison in a very rural or unpopulated area.
Yeah, that's
What?
it. He only served 8 months and then he was released and then he went back to jail for 15 days for something else a couple years later.
But what I'm saying is, did he serve his time after he was sentenced or before he was sentenced? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, like the way you read
He
it.
was released. So
Like, why would Suge Knight
Tupac
need to put up a
Shakur
bond if
served
he's already
roughly
sentenced?
8 to 9 months in prison between February and October 1995.
Okay, just stop. Just ask him when he was convicted. If you find out when he was convicted, you'll find out the answer if it was before or after. Anyways, the point of all of this is, in Picture Me Rollin', he was like,
December 1st, 1994, he was convicted.
okay, so then look at the dates and the time served. Was it before December 1st?
December 1st, 1994, conviction date, sentencing date, February 7th, time served.
February 7th of 94 or 95?
So a year later.
Not a year
Not
later.
a year later, 2
months
months later.
Yeah. And then when did he go into...
Time served, February 1995 to October 1995. So after his conviction, he served 8 to 9 months.
Okay. So, short story long, he... I never had like some sort of like, public beef with Penny Clute or anything like that. I just simply was guilty of the crime that they were... that I was
That you were
arrested
being
for.
committed for. I mean,
yeah, so I didn't like, I actually wanted to be like, thanks. Essentially so Tupac was like, basically like, fuck you, Penny Clute, and Picture Me Rollin', you punk ass DA. And I don't know, I thought it was kind of cool that he was able to like express himself in an artistic way and not like show up in her house and like hurt her. Because essentially, a lot of people don't know this, but Tupac Shakur is a Juilliard trained musician and entertainer. So he's extremely intelligent. Nor do I believe that he would ever rape. I'm not saying intelligent people don't rape people. I'm just saying that given the context of the fact that he, let's just say he has no children, okay, and there's a reason for that. And if you look at the movie Nothing But Trouble, you can actually see Tupac Shakur in the Digital Underground, which is Humpty Hump's band. And a lot of people don't really either their brains are not able to put it together, or there's something wrong with the idea that a black man was wrongfully convicted in America in the late 90s. There's something about the entire concept when I try to tell people, like, look, whether or not what happened to Biggie has nothing to do with Tupac Shakur, in the fact that his story doesn't even make sense from the onset of how a Juilliard-trained multi-millionaire rapper who is relatively good-looking, in great shape, needs to rape a human being in order to have sexual gratification. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever been to either a rap or rock concert, but there's a lot of women that want to have sex with the men on stage. There is no need. It's kind of like with the Kobe Bryant thing. Yeah. Like, Kobe Bryant was eventually cleared, topically of the issue, but when you're a superstar athlete or an entertainer, unless your sexual appetite calls for some sort of a Michael Jackson secretive, prearranged meeting, there is more than enough partners around in either sex for you to have plenty of sex without ever crossing the line with a single person. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why a lot of the old-time rockers, other than Gary Glitter, never have an issue. Do you know who Gary Glitter is? Why don't you look up who Gary Glitter is? So Gary Glitter is a great example of an entertainer who did have and there's a reason for that. And you know what NAMBLA is? Have you ever heard of NAMBLA?
No.
After you look up Gary Glitter, and I'll explain to you, because in the movie Almost Famous, they really clearly depict that the human beings that were on stage, there it is. So Gary Glitter has one of the most iconic sports themes of all time that was played for decades at sports arenas, and it still is. And I don't really know like whether or not like his estate gets money for it, or it goes to some sort of a charity, or maybe like. But essentially, once you get to the part that really speaks to the audience that I'm looking to explain about who Gary Glitter really is. Now, my best friend is not Gary Glitter; it's Gary Rubinoff. Sometimes.
Oh my God.
Oh, there it is. It's getting closer.
Back. Oh my God.
All right. So, in case anyone cares, Gary Glitter is an open pedophile.
Jesus,
and he is open about his pedophilia. He doesn't hide it whatsoever. He continuously and routinely goes to prison for either child porn or getting arrested. But he has a massive estate because he wrote the da-na-na-na-na, hey, Ta-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Hey! Ta-na-na-na. I don't know what the fuck, it's an anthem or something. And in the movie The Joker, when he's walking down the stairs, originally they had that song and they had to edit it out because a lot of people were like, wait, I mean, like, you know, you've got Gary Glitter music playing with Joaquin Phoenix, who is portraying. I mean, it's just too much. And essentially, the point of this is that I have a very hard time believing, but at the same time, while knowing someone like Lenny Dykstra, I understand that it's very easy to misunderstand a human being's actions of trying to be left alone for aggression. And a lot of the times, human beings that are often in the spotlight do not know how to react to adversity because they don't have the proper support.
Adversity in what way?
Well, Tupac Shakur never really understood that, you know, his case was not about being black or white. It's about being rich and famous. And he never had that support system that was able to shield him from the scenarios that would allow a 19-year-old to accuse you. And it's like the same thing as I say with River Phoenix about like who let this guy like shoot up the first line of heroin or like snort or whatever. What kind of support system are we talking about here? Is the whole family on heroin? Or like, you know, so when I talk about a man like Tupac, you can immediately see that he was really mentored by topically Suge Knight, but in reality he had a very, very strong mother, and a lot of people don't know that his mother was I believe one of the Black Panthers. She was a founding member. Right. So when you're raised by a strong black female, I've met a lot of black women, and I've never met a single one of them that has raised a rapist. Ever in my entire life, especially the strong females that are like-minded and they're mothers. It's not about being black or white. I'm just saying that, you know, a black mom won't be afraid to whoop their kid on the back of the head when they do something stupid, and they're taught respect at a very young age. So I find that my biggest connection is with people who were raised with strong leaders, such as strong parents. Oftentimes the strongest parents are actually grandparents. While the parents figures are around, the grandparents have the ability to really speak to the children, since the children are not putting up walls that are natural to be put up against the communication efforts of their parents. So the grandparents are much more important in the development of the majority of children who develop in a positive manner. Please remember, a human being can be a saint their entire lives, wake up in the morning, kill a human being, and it doesn't matter. Totally. They are a murderer for the rest of their lives.
Yeah,
and a lifetime of being a saint doesn't matter to the person they killed, the children who lost a parent.
That's a really good point about the grandparents, you know? I think that...
Well, that's one of the reasons why whenever I listen to your stories about your grandma. So the point of this is like, so I'm listening to the Xander story and I see Gary walking. He's walking with some Bible. And I call it a Bible because Gary's just like, he's like my brother Mark. They're like so selfish in their reading habits. So like,
why is it selfish if he's reading the Bible?
Well, first off, he wasn't reading the Bible. I just called it the Bible because it was like some tomb. You know, like a tomb is like a big...
But why is he selfish for wanting to read? Isn't it like, doesn't he just want to waste the time?
I'll tell you why. Because when Gary and I would do these long road trips to Canada, I would do books on tape or really think about the MP3 selections thinking about Gary. When Gary would be reading, he'd be reading alone. And I'd be like, hey...
Oh, he read in the car alone.
I mean, sometimes, but usually not.
I thought you just meant in prison.
No,
like
in prison.
In prison. Read? Like...
It's not what I'm... It's more of like Mark Risis. It's like Gary was pretty cool. Like, he was a really good friend. And so Gary is walking with like some book that he's reading. And honestly, I always think of Ayn Rand, The Fountainhead.
Yeah.
Because it's just so egregiously big.
So big.
It's
so
like,
big.
You know, to replace the yellow pages is my go-to bullet stopper.
It's a book It's a door
I read some big books like The Financier and things like that. And I draw the line on things like War and Peace or Don Quixote. Like, you know what my limit of book sizes is? If it takes up more than 25% of a carry-on bag, I do not take it. I will never read it. if a book is bigger than 25% of my carry-on bag, which is a small bag, the book is too big. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a stupid ass rule.
Totally.
But as someone who, you know, can read a lot and
Yeah.
you
I
know.
get it.
So I was once on an airplane and the stewardess, she was reading Don Quixote and she was like on page 17 or something.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for the bathroom. I'm like, how's that going over there? She's like, it's excellent. I looked at her and I was like, what about it is excellent? She's like, well, you know, it's just one of those stories. So she just goes off and like starts telling me about the book. But like, I could see she's only on page 17, so I don't know what she's telling me. Or, you know, it's one of the most complex and intellectually stimulating books of all time. And it's not that stewards are, as a matter of fact, the flight attendants are very intelligent human beings because they have a lot of time to not only interact with passengers that are very difficult to communicate with, they also have a lot of dead time where they're able to, I mean, with the onset of social media and the phone, they might just be grinding away when they're alone. But
Yeah.
so I'm sitting at one of these tables and I see Gary walking and buttoning up his like onesie or whatever the hell we were wearing, and he's like white, like as a ghost. He like sits down with his book. He's like, I'm like, Gary, what's going on? He goes, I touched the water. I go, what the hell are you talking about? You touched the water. He goes, I was going to the bathroom, and all of a sudden, you know, because like I guess he was like sitting and taking a shit. He's like, and like then all of a sudden I feel it, and like his penis touched the water. So like, to me, I always found it to be so funny that like in a Canadian border jail where like you know, we're looking at this horrible sentence. Gary's going to Cornell. There's other funnier stories that happen. So I have a full ride to college, but like it's the beginning of August or something like that. It doesn't look like we're going anywhere. And
Oh my
I have
God! It was the
Xander.
summer before he went to Cornell.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he was starting Cornell
He was
on
doing
like
his
September
summer reading
4th.
in jail before.
So we're sitting, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what the fuck is, like, what could it have been? So it was, you know, he touched the water. So in the first day, we get there, we're like barely alive and exhausted, and then like either that night or whatever, we go see the judge, and it's one of those like 3 o'clock in the morning, and like I think we were in the judge's living room. It was like literally like the judge like woke up. They had like, obviously the courtroom is somewhere next to the judge's house because he has to like indict people in the middle of the night because it's a border jail. So you know, we get there and like they're like, you know, it's a border jail, and Gary and I are both born in Russia, so they don't allow any bail. And so we're both American citizens. Like, yeah, shut up, commies. And then like, threw us out. So we get like labeled as communists because just by Gary's dad's a dentist, you know, my dad is a mathematician, and neither one of our parents were ever criminals. So Gary's going to Cornell. I'm going to a decent school, but like it's not a real college. It's called University of Hartford. I always called it Moore High School. And it was like the 13th and 14th grade of Livingston High School. And so the next day, Gary goes to meet his lawyer, and I'm like, all right, so how did it go? He goes, it was a very, very strange conversation. I go, what was so strange about it? He goes, well, he basically told me that I'm getting out in a couple of days and like not to worry because he said that you're taking the blame for the weed. I was like, yeah, that's all true. And he's like, and then like, you know, the conversation was over, but I was with him, and they were in the middle of the count, so like neither one of us could go anywhere. I was like, all right, so then what happened? He's like, he started talking to me about college, and he's like, he goes to me, the guy, this is Gary telling me, he's like, the guy says to me, he's like, where are you going to school? And he's like, he's got a very strong Canadian accent, and Gary's like, I'm going to Cornell. And the guy goes, oh, okay. He goes, my daughter, she goes to Concordia, which is like, you know, McGill is in Montreal. McGill is like a really good school.
Really good. Yep.
Yeah, Concordia is like if you can't get into McGill, but you still want to live in Montreal.
Okay.
It's like Pace is to NYU.
Yep.
All right. So the I think that the guy actually told him about his daughter before, so Gary like is listening to this guy like telling him about how his daughter is going to Concordia, and his daughter was the same age as us, so she was going to Concordia, and so Gary's like, mind you, Cornell is like maybe 50 miles from where we are, maybe 100 if that. No, it could be more because we were kind of like on the north, but the point is they're both in New York, so. And if anyone doesn't know this, Cornell is a really good school for education. And I believe it might be like either in the Ivy Leagues or borderline Ivy League. It's an Ivy League school. So Gary's like, and he had a ride. Gary's a really smart kid. And the guy goes, oh, Cornell, eh? It's an okay school, I guess. So his daughter goes to Concordia. And Gary's like humbly saying, well, I'm going to Cornell. And like, most of the time when you tell a human being who is knowledgeable that like, here are the two universities, like you would think that the public defender would be like, oh shit, man, like that's really amazing. I know about secondary education and Cornell is definitely like a big time school. But instead the guy like in full seriousness was like, it's okay. It's no Concordia, but it's okay. And
it's no Concordia.
So Gary's parents never picked him up. He took the bus home. Yeah, they were like so mad. Because you know what it is? Gary's parents always hated me and they always said that I was a really bad influence. So like when your son calls you from like a border jail and says, Dan and I got arrested, it's like a really great time to like, I told you so.
Yeah.
So like if it's like getting, it's like the parents' version of Jewish lightning. And when, I swear, my life is so fucking weird. So, I don't know how long it took me to tell that story, but that story was barely...
30 minutes. 30 minutes.
Yeah, I promise you, man. None of that story was made up. It was a very weird time. It was a couple of weeks before an event in our society that really changed the whole thing. So, back to my selection of the president... I don't do anything except cast a vote. And I've only voted once, which was in the last election. I've never voted before in my life. But here are my selection for the Democratic and Republican nominees, as well as who I believe is the more qualified of the two candidates. There's a dark horse that's coming in. So I've been no stranger to Hollywood and their talents of being a public speaker. Please understand, in our society today, the President of the United States is nothing more than a public figure. His behavior is of utmost importance at this time, as we've learned from the last two presidents who are 3 elections deep, and it's the same old white guy. I'm not really sure. It's like a juggling act. And... for this one, we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to go with, surprise, surprise for the Democratic Party, a white guy. And my choice is Matthew McConaughey. That's my 2028.
Yep.
Put it on paper. To run against Miss Tulsi Gabbard. That is, I know you won't see it coming, but my selection is Tulsi. She's about a year into her job. I haven't heard of any scandals or any insanity. What are you looking at?
I didn't know that she was a Democrat and then a Republican.
Well, that's why I selected her. You need somebody that understands the perspective of being fucked by both parties. So with her, she is a human being that would be a great representative of the Republican Party, because it would really balance out this whole like Republicans hate women thing. And it would really give a voice, because she is, she's from Hawaii, so she's got some color. Sorry, that was a low blow. But in general, she's got the gift of gab. So when it comes to, you like that one?
Yeah.
So when it comes to public speaking and having the credentials to publicly address the world in a serious fashion, I think that the guy that, all right, we got some nuclear weapons coming at us live. It's like, I don't really see it.
Go ahead.
I mean, I could see him winning the primary, and I could definitely see him reminding everyone that he's from...
America?
No, he's from
Texas.
school shooting land. Duval or
Oh, right.
oh my God, why am I spacing out? Anyways, he's from a place where there was a very public and interestingly timed school shooting. I want to say it's Duval.
Uvalde. Uvalde.
Duval sounds like, no, I'm not even saying it. It sounds like a stepfather's name. Like I've never met a Duval that wasn't a stepfather, alcoholic. Hey, that's Duval. That's my stepdad. My mom's dating him. Well, that was
He was born on election day, so it's perfect.
Matthew
He's
McConaughey.
born on November 4th. Isn't that election day usually?
I mean,
1969.
And also, he's a progressive Democrat, and he's from Texas, so he gets like that whole. So, like, a Democrat from Texas who's a gun owner and represents Midwestern values would be the best candidate for disenfranchised youth that is really not understanding how American politics work. And for the Republican Party, who is fresh off of a human being that used to be publicly associated with Bain gifts, oh, it's you, I will give you the world, or whatever, you know. And I think it was like LeBron James, under the brilliant advice of the closest figure. You ever meet like famous people and be like, who does this person look like? So like Tulsi Gabbard looks so much like Farrah Leff, like in real life.
Really?
Like, yeah, she does. And it's weird. It's like weird. It's like she reminded me of it a lot. So Farrah, if anyone doesn't know, is the sister of my former business partner and Mr. Nimbus. So
Mr. Nimbus
no,
and
I think that human beings who do bad will eventually have their day in court. I don't think that. I do. I believe in the American justice system more than ever because we do live in a digital age, and this whole entire narrative started with my explanation of why I don't drink, because I thought that it would be interesting for you to know, since there was like a few stories. Every once in a while Jamie and I are talking and I say like, oh, I'll save it for YouTube, because I don't believe that the lesson is worth teaching for one person. And it's not that I'm like, oh, I will serenade you with a story. I abandoned my son. You gotta train well. Check out the movie Bunny. I don't know. Anyways, so when well, first off, before I even go into the story, are there any very memorable stories from your youth that you really attribute to quitting alcohol? And I really don't give a fuck about your douchebag brothers or your super mean mom and dad. So, like, let it rip. This is my channel.
What do you mean stories of?
Well, I think that, like, I'll start.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll tell you what I mean with this story.
Okay.
So, one thing you need to understand is neither my mom nor my father, thank God, are alcoholics. My mom was a drinker, but not in the traditional sense. She never really... I don't remember, other than like at like birthday parties that are like with a ton of Russians and everything, I've never seen my mom ever get like really drunk. She was always pretty well together, and this is a channel where I speak the truth, so I don't invent stories that never happened. So even though she was in a long-term relationship with a full alcoholic who was a functioning alcoholic, and his alcoholism, one of the things I want to really refrain from doing is judging another person. Because one thing you need to remember is my mother was in a relationship with a Russian man who comes from a culture where drinking on a nightly basis is the norm. Mm-hmm. It's neither encouraged nor it's discouraged. Mm-hmm. It's just the norm. So one of the things that a lot of people who are watching this channel don't really understand is that their perception of the Russian culture is only based on Russian Jews. So why don't you ask your little machine of what percentage of Russians consider themselves Jews in 1989? And the reason why I say this is because culturally speaking, the Jewish Russians are not the same as the traditional Russians. We don't really they definitely, drinking is a totally normal thing, but most of the Russian Jews are really functioning human beings, where alcoholism and straight non-functioning is truly a, they say it's Gentile, but what
In 1989, the percentage of Russia's population that were Jewish was 0.36%.
Okay. So in the United States, what percentage of Russians are Jewish in the United States?
Okay,
Watch
well, let me
this.
ask.
So look at the disparity.
Same year?
No, right now.
What percentage of what is in the United States?
People that are first or second generation Russian identify as Jewish. So it's 0.36%. And one thing you need to understand is admissible variation is very high here, because remember, it was illegal to publicly announce your religion, but at the same time, there was a very full and very large understanding that, like, who is a Žid and who is not a Žid. And a Žid is basically the kike of Russian.
20 to 30% of immigrants from Russia are Jewish.
Okay, so now, ask your little machine, let's say 25%, because that's an average, right?
Yep.
So in America, 25% of all Russians are Jewish. But in Russia, 0.36% of all Russians are Jewish. So now look at the percentage difference of how much greater of a percentage is 25% versus 0.36. And you'll see something very interesting. And the people who are interested in conspiracy theories, please understand this is not a conspiracy theory. This is the US Census Public Knowledge Database. This is not a conspiracy. What I'm talking about is full public knowledge, and this is one of the reasons why I have such a hard time communicating with the rest of the world, is because I express astronomical variations and differences.
So there's two. One's the absolute difference, one's the relative difference.
Why don't you give both? It's an
So
applied math
the
channel.
absolute difference is 24.64%. And the relative difference is how many times larger it is, which is 69 times larger.
Give the relative difference in exact percentages. The second one was relative difference, right? Okay, so the relative difference is where you get the adverse ratio. And I will dive into the first one of how it's able to see that 24.64. But I think it's because it's treating the 0.36 as very close to absolute zero. So it doesn't, in statistics, there's an actual modeling format that gets rid of, so there's something called mean, median, and mode. Very simple, the average, the number that comes up the most amount of times, and the numbers that saddle at the bookends of the data set. Yeah, what's up?
So basically it's 6,844% higher
6,844% higher
than 0.36.
Okay, you are not Jewish, right?
Correct.
Do you think it's strange? Well, let's ask right now. What is the percentage of Russians right now that are Jewish? Because you know what, you want to get real statistics. Because if in 1989 it was 0.36.
In America or all over the world?
No, in Russia. In Russia. We're only comparing two data sets. We can't do more than two data sets. It's not comparing them. It's just insanity.
The Jewish population is roughly 165,000? No way.
No, percentage. So it's 165?
0.09%.
0.09. So it went down. It went down.
The Jewish population is about 1 in 1,000.
Okay, that makes sense. If you have 24% of every Russian in the entire country of the United States being Jewish, that means 1 out of every 4 Russians in a... Okay, so do you, as a human being who doesn't know math very well, do you find it at all astronomically insane that there are 6,844% more Jews that are Russian in America than in fucking Russia?
Yes. Yes.
Where you're allowed to be Jewish. No one's going to kill you.
Yeah.
Like, ask it, how many billionaire Russian oligarchs are Jewish? Watch this. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of people have a misconception of the anti-Semitic aspect of 1989, which is very much in effect, versus the extreme capitalist. And please remember, like Vladimir Putin can't like be fighting Jews, fighting the Ukrainians.
1 in 5 Russians are billionaires. 1 in 5 Russian Jews are billionaires. 20.
What?
What's this?
What?
What's this?
1 in 5.
What's that symbol?
Oh, it's average 21%. Okay, all right. Listen, you idiots. When you have a country which has 0.09% of the population of a certain religion, and 20% of all the billionaires in the country are that religion, and then in America, there are 6,844% more Russians that are Jewish than in fucking Russia. You might want to ask yourself why. And this channel actually has the answer. But the reason why I'm so adamant about this is that no matter how many times I keep trying to explain the same mathematical anomalies that are in plain sight, nobody at all says, hey, Dado, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
Like,
those are crazy numbers.
well, the craziest number is the fact that 20% of all the Russian billionaires are Jewish, when the population is 0.09% Jewish. That's the craziest part, because a lot of people don't understand that basically, like, I would have to say, like, 1 out of every 50 Russian Jews is a billionaire. You know, like, I mean, it's almost like some insane, not 50, 1 in 500. I would say if there's 165,000, that means, you know, there's probably 300 Russian billionaires. If there's like 1,000 billionaires, and you know, 1/3 of them, a quarter of them, or, you know, so let's say even 1 out of every 1,000. Look, let me explain to you something. If you have a culture where 1 out of every 1,000, which is about a high school class of Roxbury, New Jersey, is a billionaire, something is off. Something doesn't make sense. You know? Mm-hmm. Can you imagine if 1 out of every 1,000 Americans was a billionaire? You have 300 million human beings. That's 300,000. It's about 300,000.
Let's ask.
Well, it's 1,000th of 300 million, so it's 1 in 300,000 or
Okay.
1 in 30,000. It depends on how many zeros. So go ahead.
What's the question? How many?
What's 1% of 300 million? It's going to be 300,000. No, it's going to be 3 million actually. 1% of 300,000 is 3 million. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I should have just spent a second thinking about it. So it's 3 million. So imagine if there were 3 million billionaires in America.
Wait, 1% of 300,000?
300 million.
Oh, 300 million.
Is 3 million. You don't need to do a
Got it.
calculator.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if anyone's wondering, the entire population of the greater St. Louis area is 2.8 million. So imagine if every person that lives in or around St. Louis was a billionaire. That's the proportion of Russian Jews that are billionaires. That's the insanity of this whole thing. So for people who, and the reason why I say this is because there are people who would be like, well, you know, the reason why it's only 0.09 is because Russian Jews weren't able to practice openly. Yeah, but they have been for 30 years. So like, why would it, like, what happened? And I have the answer. I'm actually one of the reasons. See, the intellectual capital was sucked out like the fat inside the side of a wealthy, useless wife of a dentist. I don't know why I have this beef with, well, I do know why, because of Gary's parents. Because believe it or not, as much as they hated me, I actually didn't like them either. Gary's dad was pretty cool. He was kind of sweet. But Gary's mom, oh man, was she...
Didn't like you.
You know, I'm going to reserve my thoughts. But I once, you know, Gary's really nice. And like his mom was not. And like, that's all I'm going to say. And his brother changed a lot, kind of, but his brother's not very nice. He's just Alex. And his dad, Gary's one of those people that, like, if you ever wanted to do a case study on a family, that's the kind of family you want to, like, his father's mother was extremely well accomplished. Oh my God, I totally forgot. So Gary's uncle is, look up Yefim Shafrin on Wikipedia. So Gary's uncle is like this Russian crooner / comedian / storyteller.
I wouldn't even know how to spell this if I tried.
YAFIM space SHAFRIN. Shafrin. And look up the entertainer. He's world famous, I promise. I mean, he was world famous 30 years ago, and they call him Fimka. And I'll tell you like a wild story about that. And the reason why I do this in long format is to express to everyone that this channel is really designed for so many different purposes. And one of them is really to express a lot of my inner monologue before I film the really important content. So for example, all of this is, oh my God, jeez Louise, Jamie, you're killing me.
Okay, it's EFIM. Efim Shafrin is a Soviet-Russian actor, humorist, and singer.
Yes,
he is the creator and artistic
yes.
director of Shafrin Theater.
Yes. So this guy was like the Russian Jim Carrey at the time. He was like super famous. Whatever. I don't know. I don't even know how to read Russian. So his first cousin is Gary's mom.
Oh!
So when he would come to America, he would literally sell out like PNC or like these large ass venues.
Oh, really?
Like huge venues. No joke. I'll tell you, like ask your little machine what the largest, copy and paste his name and ask what the largest venue he's ever performed at. And you'll understand why I'm telling you this story. And it's incredible because in Russian culture and Russian Jewish culture, because of the small quantity of population, it was, I guess, normal to marry your cousin. But like, I'm part of the generation that went from Russia to America, where it's like, oh my God, what are you, insane? And I'm just curious.
It says there's no verified record about how the largest venue, but typically he would perform in venues from 1,000 to 5,000 seats.
5,000 seats, okay? So in my opinion, I know that he's like performed at like big places. Maybe not PNC. How many seats is PNC, Bank Heart Center? Probably like 25, 30,000, right? It's an open air amphitheater style. They must have a lot. I mean, that's the, I think PNC is owned by the state of New Jersey, by the way.
It is.
The reason why
17,500 seats.
So I want to say that he did venues like that maybe he didn't sell out or something like that. But they were like big ass venues, and then he would stay at Gary's house on 14 Mayhew Road. It was the weirdest fucking thing, and I couldn't understand why. Because to me, he wasn't a celebrity. To me, like Eddie Murphy was famous, or like American celebrities. But like when I would tell people, like, yeah, my best friend's uncle is Fimka Shafrin, they'd be like, oh my God, can you like get me to see him or something like that? And I wouldn't really understand it. And then like one day I came over and I saw the dynamic between Gary's mom and this guy, and I got it. And when it comes to family dynamics, a lot of people don't really understand that, like, my childhood is marred or mired with such traumatic stories as this. Check this out. So, did I ever tell you the story about how my mom was supposed to marry her cousin?
Maybe.
His name is Shia Mayer. So, I really wanted, like, I gave myself the middle name, but I really wanted Mayer, like, and my dad.
This is before she met your dad?
This is before she met my dad.
Okay.
Yeah. So listen to this. So my mom was a good looking lady, you know, like call a spade a spade. She's not an ugly woman. And am I boring you?
No.
Would you like some coffee?
No, I'm good.
Would you like to be thrown off my YouTube channel?
No.
I'm just kidding. I like to mess with Jamie.
Yeah.
So my mom, my God. So I'm just like remembering it because I remember I was like, Dad, because I came to America with in Russian, your name is like, your middle name is your father's surname. So like my real name is Daniil Arkadyevich Miron Risis. So Mironovich Risis or some shit like that. But the grandfather's name is not really included. I just love the way my father would say his name, which is Arkady Mironovich. So in order to honor my father, I put my father's full name. So I'm Daniil Arkady Mironovich Risis.
Okay.
You understand?
Yep.
So, because my grandfather is a very important part of my life, and he's like when you have two grandparents and one of them paid for everything and the other one gave a seed, it's very, very different. My grandfather actually gave me my first pocket knife, Piracine Nože. It's a great name. There's a lot of Italian, French, and German words in the Russian language because it's a Cyrillic alphabet. It has 4 extra letters, and it comes from the Greek Orthodox language. My mom, God bless her, really enjoyed her vanity. So even though she was married, she still kept in contact with a lot of the men that she went on dates with. And one of these men was Shia Meir. Okay. And Shia Meir, and like Shai is like high, like Chaim. Uh-huh. So like it's like a derivative of Chaim, I think. Like Shia Meir. Okay. And I don't even know if that's his name. It could have been like one of those like affectionate nicknames. But definitely his middle or last name is Meir. Okay. And when I would ask my dad, I would be like, why can't I? So I went to Solomon Schechter, and in Solomon Schechter, everyone had a middle name except me. Like everyone had a middle name because in America, when you're born, you get a middle name. Sure. And everyone had a middle name except me. So like, not only was I poor, I didn't speak English. I was missing a part of my name. It was like no leg in the metaphysics. It's true. Like everyone has 3 names. I've got 2 names. It's not like it's that hard. I can just write it in. So I'm like, Dad, like, can I just have Mayor be my middle name? He's like, absolutely not. Like you don't name, like after.
I don't know, you guys have so many rules when babies.
Anyways, my dad, I tried to like he's like, when you were born, your grandfather was alive. I can't give you his name. I was like, true. But he was dead when we came to America, when we transferred our name from Risis to Risis, and because the other way is like not spellable because it's in Cyrillic, so the letters are missing from this language. So maybe since we're changing the spelling and like Rita is going from Margarita to Rita, I could just get a middle name. And like, he never told me why he didn't want me to do Mayor until one day Shia Meir shows up. Oh. And this is like when we are still in our little apartment in West Orange, and he shows up with his new wife. And basically like when he sees and we went to the airport to pick him up in JFK Airport, and I swear to God, if my brother will tell you that this is all true. That's why this is awesome, because even though my brother hates me, he'll be like, no, every single part of this fucking asshole story is 100% true. That's the best part of this whole thing. And Mark and I love talking about this story. So this guy, remember, this is like early 90s, late 80s.
You went to pick him up. It's not like you took a cab to
Me,
the house.
my dad, my brother, my mom.
The family picked him up.
Well, no, we didn't go to pick him up. We went to greet them because they were doing like a whole trip, and he knows how to drive because they moved to Australia. Okay. He moved from Russia either as a single guy or something like that, and I've never met anyone from Russia that went to Australia except him. Everybody went to Israel or America, or you stayed in Germany/Italy, depending on like certain circumstances. Not Germany, I mean Austria. It's all Germany to me. So Dan, explain it. That's great. We're at JFK Airport, and I swear I gotta get up for this one. So he goes, you know what? I could sit down because I don't want to adjust the camera. So my dad goes, he's like, Shia, how are you? And you could see him like just push my dad to the side and just like give my mom like almost like a lip kiss and like the most affectionate hug ever. You ever seen the movie Best in Show?
Yeah.
The scene that Mark and I watched was equivalent to when Cookie goes to visit Larry Miller, and it is absolutely one of the craziest, funniest things that actually ended. It wasn't even that crazy, but he only stayed with us for maybe 1 or 2 nights because of this part of the story. And the whole time he's like hitting on my mom in front of my dad. And it's like, and my mom is just like, Shia, how are you? And he like, my cousin, I haven't seen you in a long time. Mom's like, my dad's like, dude, what the fuck, Rita? Like, you used to fuck this guy. Like my dad is like not cool with it at all. But like my dad's really nice. My dad is like Hop from DTF St. Louis. So he takes he takes Shia Mayer, and my mom's thing is like my mom always accused my dad of being really cheap, and my dad was like, well, we don't have the money. I mean, like when we have money, and like the first thing my dad did was buy my mom a house once he got money. Like literally the first thing he did. So like he had like $100,000 or something like that, whatever. But like the first money that he made, he bought us a house in Livingston. My dad did the best he could. So he takes this guy. Like one of the things my dad did was he like loved to be. See, like my dad was a really nice guy. You know what my dad like? What are some of the hobbies your dad had as a kid?
As a kid?
Not him as a kid. While you were a kid.
Oh.
What are some of the things that he did?
Played. He like was a handy. He like was handy around the house. So like he
Okay.
enjoyed doing work around the house.
That's
like,
cool.
He liked weekends.
What about other stuff? What about things that
Coaching.
interacted with other people?
Coaching.
Not with kids. With like adults. Anything with adults?
I mean, like he'd go to the club.
Did he have friends?
Like, golfed a little. Yeah.
What
like,
did he do
my
with his
parents had
friends?
a couple friends. They
So your
didn't
dad
have,
was
like,
really
single friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my dad loved to. When people came to America for the first time, he loved to give them the American experience. He would drive them to the Statue of Liberty. He would drive them to 47th Street because he was in the diamond business. He would take them to buy porn on 42nd Street.
It was a whole thing. Got it.
Oh my God. My dad loved being a voluntary tour guide for anyone that wanted it. I've gone on dozens of these tours, and believe it or not, my dad got better at it, and it became like a little bit more entertaining. But like the cringiest part is when my dad and whatever guests go to buy porn, and you have to sit in the car with your head down in shame. And my dad wasn't a pervert, so he never took it out of the brown bag. I've never seen my father ever in my life watch anything inappropriate, not even on television, because my dad. That's where the Basic Instinct story comes in, and this is the part where you really need Mark Risis, because Mark Risis. So one of the things about my father was he was very big into drawing the line in children should not be exposed to pornography, but at the same time, I'm a fucking adult. Meaning, like, he didn't hide his porn, but he also didn't like flaunt it, and he didn't, whatever. And so my brother is just a natural liar. And they were playing a movie in the Colony Theater, and my mom and my dad were already in the midst of divorce, and my dad already knew that my mom and my brother were like up to some shit, and so my brother is like, I want to say like 16 years old, and he's like, Dad, I'm going to see a movie. Mom bought me the tickets, or Mom said he's okay, and my dad's like, what are you going to see? He goes, I'm just seeing a movie. I think it's like Star Wars or some shit. My dad, like, my brother made up some movie. And my dad's like, yeah, well, you know what? I like movies. Daniel, you want to go see a movie? I was like, yeah, I want to see a movie. So we all go. And it turns out my brother lied, and it was Basic Instinct. So me and my two parents were on the brink of divorce / fighting it out in the house. And my brother and I are in the center of them. And my mom is on one side. My dad is on the other side. My dad is about to fucking kill my brother. I'm like this the entire movie. Like one of these. It really was I don't know why we sat through it either.
Yeah, I was going to say, why you didn't leave?
Now, I have no fucking idea. But the second, we did leave a little bit early because I clearly remember nobody was in the parking lot when my brother was like being chased by my father because he was about to, what?
You talk so fast.
I'm trying to get through this. This is one of the most traumatic moments in my life. And,
all right, you digress. You were talking about Rita's boyfriend that came to visit.
well, I was just talking about
And I'm
how
so
my
curious
father
about
being a non-drink. Well, check this shit out.
Because like
Check
your
this shit
dad
out.
seems
It wasn't a one-time thing. So one thing you need to understand is I call him my stepfather because they were married by common law. They were together for more than 7 years, but like they were very accelerated in their relationship. There was like a tragedy, then it was whatever. And so this man moved into my father's house and into my father's bed, which was, whatever. I'm still angry to this day about it. And he was really into martial arts. And he was into martial arts before I was into martial arts. And this is a legitimate story. And
this is Rita's boyfriend or her ex-boyfriend?
this is the man that my mom left my father for.
Got it. This is who we're talking about now.
When my father would go to Russia on business trips, my mother needed a man who was a jeweler, and she pre-selected this man because his name was Alex and my father's English name was Alex. He had a beard, he was Russian, and the only difference is my father is much heavier than this guy, but a lot of people didn't know the difference. So my mom actually for a couple of years pretended like they were the same person, and this guy was okay with it. So the thing about him is he was an individual. He was not a human being who was like a lot of other people, but he was very unoriginal and extremely, he was a lonely child, only child, what's the word? Only child. Yeah, so he was an only child and he was heavily coddled by his parents, and it was very, very strange because his cousin was also an only child who is one of my closest relatives. So amongst all of this insanity, I ended up making my own family because his parents, this guy Sasha, he's the one who has the store in Union or Vauxhall, whatever. I have nothing bad to say neither about his parents. Are you okay?
Yeah, did you hear that? Oh, maybe it was just that. I thought I heard something.
It's your dementia.
It's the ghost.
It's what happens.
It's the ghost.
It's a common thing after like a lifetime of drinking.
What?
You realize that you used to be an alcoholic after you sober up. I guess that's the worst part of being sober is knowing how many years of your life you wasted. And you can't remember.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to have a good time that day.
Yeah. So true.
So in case anyone's wondering, one of the reasons why I have such a rich memory is because I don't drink alcohol. But the other reason is because I'm Dan Risis. So, pick which one you want.
That's a big one.
But, you know how there's like spokesman for alcohol? There can't be a spokesman for no alcohol because the majority of people who are former drinkers only have bad stories. I only have good drinking stories. I've never had any bad experience except vomiting a lot. I've never fathered any children while on alcohol. I've never hooked up with anyone I didn't want to hook up with while on alcohol. As a matter of fact, I've only had a great time while hooking up with those people because I wouldn't hook up with them if I was sober. It was they that would release a lot of their inhibitions. So I found it to be pretty cool. And I never needed alcohol to have a good time. And one of the reasons why I say all of this is because of this story. So my stepfather, he was a big time drinker of tea. Like I know you were gonna think he was like a big time tea drinker. And when I say big time tea drinker, I mean literally he was like into having a mug this big, and he would drink loose leaf tea. You know how like in offices there's some people that make these ASMR noises like accounts holding, please hold, like in office space. Like so my stepfather's thing is like he kept like, if like having a large tea mug was an addiction, he was addicted to that. So he would get like this massive tea mug, and then he would like drink loose leaf tea, and he would spit the tea out. So like if you go into the kitchen or anything for like a 4-hour period of time, there would be someone drinking and spitting it out. So when I met him, he wasn't a big drinker. And the reason why I say this is that he and I will go on the record and say this, is that this man suffered something that no human should ever suffer. So the fact that he only became a heavy drinker for a short period of time, I believe is a healthy outlet given the circumstances of what happened. Because in reality, this man lost a child, not under positive circumstances. And for that reason, I will forever make sure that I represent the truth. I don't lie. I don't make up stories like he beat me or anything. He practiced karate and was a little rough on me once, but the most that he did that was really sadistic is that he ignored me, and he opened up the door to a relationship with my brother, and he never opened the door for me and went out of his way to really hurt me. And it was really painful and it was really sadistic, and it was his venue and his outlet for the grief that he was suffering at the time. And it took me many years to really understand that this man suffered an unspeakable tragedy. And given the context and the circumstances, many people didn't even give him a chance to heal. And I am one of those people. And I believe, looking back on it, I should have been a little bit more mindful of the circumstances. But I was so angry at him and I was so selfish that the only thing I wanted was attention, time, or affirmation. I never saw him as a human being either, which is why I let the past go. I don't show up to his jewelry store. As a matter of fact, I know someone who was caught throwing rocks at his glass. Right, and I condone that. I'm not into that. That wasn't something that I had anything to do with. And I say this because, you know, we live in a very, very dangerous society. People, people don't really understand that. Like when I was growing up, I was teased about being a communist, which I'm not, or my dad being in the Russian mafia, which was not, to the best of my knowledge, publicly. But then in like 6th and 7th grade, a really close friend of my dad's is found with a dead body in his backyard.
Yeah.
So it made it impossible for me to like explain to everyone. There was no YouTube.
Totally.
And like it was like I show up to school and like the first person I tell the story. Then the next period I have to say the story again. By the time it's 4th or 5th period, I'm so angry, upset, and I don't want to do it that I can't even.
I heard this rumor, what, like 25 years after it happened?
That was my dad's friend.
I know.
Vita.
I was like, when you told me the story, I was like, wait a minute.
Wait, you know
that
what
was your dad's friend?
Sasha, like, so you know what his nickname was? Red. His name was Red, or like Ginger or whatever. So Risis. So like, and he wasn't even the only redheaded person from Malinsky's also. So there's like Smolyansky and then there's Malinsky, and they're like Coke and Pepsi, except one like Arkady Smolyansky.
Wait, he had red hair?
What?
And a red beard? The guy who died?
The guy who died was redhead, but he had a power donut. He was already bald and balding. He was a big staple at the Northland pool. It's very strange. You'll be very surprised at the amount of people that are in organized crime and enjoy sitting and doing nothing more than staring at a non-moving body of water in one particular pool, not the other one. And so what I was basically trying to get at is that, I don't know what I was saying. I gave you my picks. I'm supposed to make sure that this video runs on close to 2 hours, and I have to get in a bunch of subject matters that I really don't want to talk about. I really would love to take a break, or so what I was basically saying was, this is a giant asterisk where I say, I'm about to tell you a story, but I don't want you to let it get to your head. And when I say that, I say really take it with a grain of salt, like in this hourglass that's falling one at a time. Now, sand and salt are very different things, but at the same time, there's no material difference. If I showed you this hourglass and I would say, is this sand or salt, you would never be able to mathematically prove it's one or the other without some sort of a light frequency test or the easiest test. What?
Breaking it?
You could buy 2 of them, you can break it, or you could do something even easier.
What's that?
Wait. You take sand, you take salt, you take the same amount proportion, and you see which one weighs more, and that's the one that's used in hourglasses because gravity is the mechanism. So ask Casper, not your little thing, but an actual artificial intelligence agent that was created by I don't know. I'm gonna tell you guys this story, but please don't go to this guy's store and do anything, because he didn't do anything, and he actually like paid the bills in my house, and what? Not all of them, but like some, and worked hard as he could, and took care of my mom. And being a stepfather is not easy.
Yeah.
And I think that people should be encouraged to be stepfathers, not discouraged. So this story is very hard for me to say, because ultimately in this world, the world needs more good stepfathers. A lot of good men out there aren't able to have children or do not have the capacity to be with their children, but they have a lot of love. Maybe they've outgrown their children, but they still want a domestic partner. You know, women who are in their 30s might look for men in their 50s because they are far more mature and offer a lot more in the department of figurehead or love, or mentorship. And a lot of people confuse the dynamic of biology with the reality of a relationship. And the truth of the matter is, we're all human beings. The concept of being kinder to one human being versus another human being because they're biologically related to you is in itself paradoxical. And one of the reasons why I find human beings that are adverse to my perspective is that what they want is for me to be in a relationship with human beings that are really unhealthy for me because I was either biologically related to them or I made the mistake of signing a piece of paper that would say I'm in a relationship with them or a partnership with them. Please understand that no one but me can tell me what is good for me or not, because I am the only person that has to live with myself and the decisions that I've made. So I've very carefully thought about the decisions that I've made, and I am okay with the decisions that I've made. I'm not ecstatic, and a lot of the reason for that is because I don't have any regret or remorse. What I have is hindsight. And when you have hindsight and vision at the same time, it's virtually impossible not to look at the mistakes that you've made in the past and say, all right, I'm walking down a road that's very similar to the one I traveled before. At what point in this road do I want to get off the road or run? And that's really where the lessons that I've learned in my previous relationships. And one of them was actually the dynamic that I had with Sasha. And that's his name. His name is Sasha. He was my Sasha. He wasn't a bad guy. Still not a bad guy. And this is the story about Sasha and why I don't drink. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Daniel Risis. Please remember that everything I do is on one cut, no takes, no edits, no rehearsals, no scripting, none of the stuff that you see in real life. And like Bill O'Reilly, fuck it, I'll do it live. The reason why I say this is because we live in a world of judges. We don't live in a world of juries. And ladies and gentlemen of the judges, I ask you for one thing and one thing only. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you. Every human being has to walk their own road in life. There are human beings who use alcohol very positively in a social environment that's very responsible. Those people are not the same as the story I'm about to tell you. The reason for that is because every human being's tolerance and their decision-making process truly determines their capacity and their ability to partake in what our society has deemed to be socially appropriate. As a matter of fact, alcohol as a drink, as a biological and evolutionary product, it saved us as humanity from dysentery and other plagues that were going around during the medieval times, where the Franciscan monks as well as various other friars made mead, champagne, and alcohol out of fermented grains so that the regular water, which had bacteria in it, could be guaranteed to be cleansed. Obviously, that cleansing process led to something called alcohol. And if you know the famous adage that more blood has been spilled in the name of Christ than any other figure in history, you also know that more children have been birthed from alcohol than from any in vitro or anything you could imagine. It's like the same as the Russian population of Jews in Russia versus America. Like, one would think there'd be a lot more Russian Jews in a place where religion could be practiced freely for the last 3 decades. Alas, no. Concentration of just like, imagine like a fucking football stadium, mothers guilting you into marrying women you don't want to marry. Like, instead of like cheering on, they're like, who's gonna take care of your kids? You know, I don't think anyone gets that joke, but essentially, my stepfather, Sasha, when he was, he met my mom when he was only 27 years old, which is a very young age. So he was in really good physical condition. And one of the things that he was really good at is climbing the stairs. And he was one of those people that, in my honest opinion, you ever heard of...
What do you mean climbing the stairs?
You know, like the Stairmaster?
Oh, the Stairmaster. Yeah.
But the original Stairmaster is actually a treadmill that has stairs that go. But in gyms, because of stair classes, there was only one of these machines, and it was white, and it said Stairmaster on it, and it was like a treadmill, and when you get on it, it's basically like gravity goes through it. So my stepfather was able to do like an hour to an hour and a half at full speed. Like, if there was a you know the competition of running up the stairs to
the fireman's thing.
Well, I think the World Trade Center was the original one,
is,
and then 9/11, whatever. Well, whoops. So my stepfather was actually incredible at that.
Okay.
He also was really eccentric. He was like but in a good way.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Like, and this is why life is so funny and ironic. My dad, like, hated to shower and was a shrinker, which in Yiddish is just not the cleanliest of human beings, but he passed away, and my father made up for other characteristics. Like, I've never seen anyone hit my father or even come close to starting a fight with him. You know, he's just not somebody that I've ever seen anyone actually like engage. They would like yell and they would be upset, but I've never seen in my life. And my father would always stand there waiting for someone to engage, but it never happened. A lot of the reason for that is because my father was a really good fighter in something called Greco-Roman wrestling, which is really important in street fighting because most people try to square up and try to punch. That's not really a realistic thing. That's more for like YouTube or backyard drunk dad fighting. Like in real life, I would say about 80 to 85% of fights that don't have any weapons end up on the ground. So do you know the difference between wrestling and Greco-Roman wrestling? It is the utilization of your legs. In Greco-Roman wrestling, it's top only.
Okay.
It's a very different style, I believe. Who is calling me? You know, you try to film a 2-hour video and potential spam. Go ahead and not take this. So my dad was like a really serious guy, and my stepdad, what's really, really ironic about that is my stepdad was like insanely clean. He would take like 2, sometimes 3 showers a day, and he would be so clean. And like a lot of that is my mother. She constantly told him all these like horror stories about her living with my dad. So this guy took it a step further. He wouldn't even let my mom wash his socks or underwear. He would wash them in the shower like an inmate and hang them up. And believe it or not, given the circumstances and the world that we live in, if you're a human being who cares about his hygiene and doesn't want their partner to wash it, it makes sense. Like it's not like, you know, he's not hurting anyone. And like for example, like, you know, eucalyptus. Mm-hmm. You know, like eucalyptus is actually, it grows wild on 280. A lot of people don't know.
Oh, really?
That. Yeah. So like my stepfather would make me. He didn't make me, but he was trying to bond with me, and I really enjoyed it. And I just don't understand why he only did it a couple of times. But basically, my stepdad would take his Toyota Corolla station wagon, and he would drive it between exits 4 and 5 on 280, and you could pull over, and he would take my machete and he would chop down the eucalyptus, and then he would go to the JCC. Well, then he would boil the eucalyptus down, and then he would have this like liquid, which is a concentration of eucalyptus, which actually was extremely expensive and very difficult to get in the 90s. So when he would go to the JCC and he would work out for like an hour, hour and a half, he then would go into the sauna, and with the regular fake rocks in America, it's a very dry air. So he would pour the eucalyptus liquid on it, and it would be very refreshing. Everybody would really enjoy it. And that is one of the many, many good things that he really was able to do. But at the same time as being very novel, we actually once a cop pulled up behind us, and we were like, are you guys okay? And he barely spoke English. That's one thing that you need to know. I actually don't think he still speaks English. He was a good guy, but his dad, the thing is, his dad was a scientist and a mathematician, like a real one, not a fake one. And his dad worked a lot with Americans, obviously. So his dad spoke really good English, and that intimidated him when it came to learning English. And his wife started speaking English, but he never really spoke English. So I had to talk to the cop, and the cop was like, "Kid, you okay?" And I think it was one of the Livingston cops. I don't remember who it was. And he's like, "Is everything okay? Like, why is this guy like chopping?" And my stepfather like wasn't paying attention to the cops, because my stepfather is not a criminal. He wasn't really doing anything illegal. He was actually just like chopping down. I mean, you know, it's state land, but it's weeds. And so I'm like, no. This is my stepfather. He's Russian. He really, he chops the eucalyptus down. And I remember the cop being like, "Oh, it's actually a pretty smart idea." And I was like, "Yeah, thank you. Have a nice day." Okay. So those are some of the good things. And here's some of the other ones. He had a lot of friends. One of the friends that he had, his name was, all of his friends were named either Alex or Sasha. So one of the friends that he had was Alexander Rankovsky, who was a stockbroker, and we're going to put a pin in that one because, believe it or not, that relationship transferred into something relatively positive. But then he had another Sasha who was his mentor because he did martial arts in Russia, and that was really rare. Very few people in Russia did martial arts. And he introduced this man to my mom and me as his sensei. Okay? So mind you, Sasha was in his late 20s. Let's put it like that.
Okay.
You okay?
Yeah.
Sasha was in his late 20s. His mentor was in his late 40s, early 50s.
Okay.
So he's about double his age.
Okay.
So that...
Sounds normal, no?
Just
Isn't
wait.
your mentor supposed to be older than you?
So the thing about sensei was that when you're in martial arts like me, you actually know like how your body is a temple and things like that. Like for example, I've never seen Bob Casper sip of alcohol ever in my life except a few times he drank some wine and a few shots here and there during the thing. He's not sober, he's just a martial artist. So when you're a martial artist, what's the point of being a martial artist if you're going to go ahead and poison your body at the same time?
I agree.
So the thing about sensei was, first and foremost, he had a really interesting job, and his source of income versus his real source of income was very different. So his job was, he was a foreman of a very large tunnel digging crew in Moscow. So one thing about my stepdad that was very similar to my mom was that they're both from Moscow. Okay? Mm-hmm. And this is a true story that I'm about to tell you. My mom, when she was 13 years old, pushed my stepdad in a Pam stroller because they're from the same complex. They were from the same apartment complex.
Small world. Amazing.
Okay.
That's wild. Were their parents friends?
Yes and no. They were Jews, and you know what? This is what my mom is telling me, and it was verified by.
Well, there's so few. I mean, it's
a pretty valid story. It's a pretty valid story, but it's one of those where you don't want to say it because like my mom was 40 and this guy's 27, so it's like. But my mom always was like, look at me, I'm this beautiful woman, I can have any man I want. Like, why don't you get somebody that's nicer to your kids? So, but Sasha was nice to my brother. He just wasn't. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So I'm also not an easy person to deal with. So I don't have any regrets there. So my mom, we had this house where it's a ranch, and it's a ranch that's built in a hill. So it's actually 2 full floors, but you could only see one of the 2 floors. From the back, you could see the second floor, but it's a fully built floor, and a lot of people don't really understand that. And when you have a ranch, you can have a 2-story ranch if it's on a hill. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. That's the only way.
Very self-explanatory.
They're very rare, but I have one. And like meeting my house on 19 Ford Road is one of those. And well, it became one when I dug out 3,000 square feet manually. So
manually, but with your own 2 hands?
No. I commanded a team of 8 men in Spanish, actually. You watched the whole thing.
I was joking around.
Oh, all right.
You said you did it manually, so
I think it would be
you yourself.
It was like digging the fucking Midtown Tunnel, by hand. Okay, so so we had this little room, and the owner of the house was Salvatore Canizzo, not Saul Canizzo, like my mom would say, Sal Canizzo. And Sal Canizzo used to have these cheese and salami rooms. So like the cheese room was used as my mom's closet of fake garbage, and the salami room was converted into Sensei's bedroom. And no one could live down there because it had no windows. So it was a room that was kind of designed to be for a room with no windows. And I don't know if anyone's watched the show Sopranos, but Sal Canizzo, he was in the demolition, construction, and waste management business. So he needed a room with no windows for some reason, which was lined with paneling and carpeting that was replaced at least a dozen times based on what I saw. So I don't know anything about that, but you know, one might ask themselves why. Okay? So Sensei would go to Bottle King and buy, like, so he ran a crew of men, and this was during a time between 1990 and 1995. So corruption was very common in Russia. It was a transitionary period where workers were continuing, so he was able to basically say, like, oh, I need $2 million of this and that, or he would be like, giving a contract to someone and they would give him a shitload of cash. And he needed a way to like launder the money. So he started coming to America and he had a lot of cash and he would buy, no joke, I would have to say the man drank about 4 packs a day. He would sit on the edge of his bed in darkness like this, sweating, drinking.
What?
And if you walk by his room, he would be like, "Done, sit down." And I'd be like, "Okay." He'd be like, "Sit down." And this man, this is not a joke. My brother knows this is a true story. It's like, if I say 3 or 4 24 packs, that's being nice.
That's
being nice. And he had the garbage in the back, and he was kind of like a responsible guy.
How do you afford that?
Well, he actually, believe it or not, was a millionaire because he made so much money in. It wasn't even corruption; it was just part of the job. And he actually, and I'll give Sasha even more credit because Sasha was really, really smart, and he was like, "Dude, you just invested in gold, and gold was like $200 an ounce." And I remember I was doing a lot of business on eBay, so we got this package once, and I accidentally opened it, and because I thought it was for me, and it was like 20 solid gold ounce bars. Maybe there were 5-ounce bars, but it was like a Pam Swiss investment, and I was like, cool, that's smart, like I already knew about finance and stuff like that, but he was just a good guy. He wasn't a bad guy, he wasn't anything, but watching him in my house, but he would stay for like months at a time. He would stay for like
So was watching him drink the minute why you realized you didn't want to drink?
No, watching my stepfather go from a really normal human being to a zombie because he didn't know how to deal with the stresses of life, so he started coping with alcohol, and then I think he might have stopped drinking at one point, but his liver was already shot. And watching the influence that someone that he associated with a positive role model, and it wasn't drinking, it was binge drinking. It was like I remember meeting my stepfather, and him being like a well thing, and then watching him like stumble through the hallways and like fall down, and like one time he fell, or either Sensei or my stepfather fell and really hurt himself, and they were like bleeding everywhere, and I remember the apex of the saddest moment where I came, and they were on nice nights they would sit in the backyard. I don't know if you've ever been to my house, but I have a tiny ass backyard, but there's it was nice, and it was all stone because solid Canizzo. So I remember I was already I remember I was driving. I was 17, I think, maybe I was 16, and I came and I was like, "What's up, Sash?" And "What's up, Sash?" They were both named Sasha, and we called him Sensei, because he was his sensei, and I was like, it was like either I finished like a training session with Bob or something like that, and Sasha and this other guy were so drunk, like it was hard to watch, like they were so drunk. And then they're like, "Oh, sit down." So we sit down, and I'm like, I don't remember how the conversation went, but Sensei got up and went to the bathroom, and Sasha looks at me in full seriousness, and he's so drunk, And like he looks at me in full seriousness and he goes, you know, if Sensei wanted to, he could move this building with one hand. I go, and this is a true story. I too like burst out laughing. I was like, Sasha, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, he can will the corner, and he like gets up and he's like, if Sensei was here, I was like, Sensei's here, he's in the bathroom, Sasha. And when he comes out, and the thing is, they both had, you have any glasses? Can I borrow those? So they both had glasses, and because they got like really sweaty, the glasses kept going down all the time. And they go like that. Like before they started sentences, they would like fix the rim of their glasses. Like if my mom's watching this, she'd be like, "Oh my god, he's absolutely right." The glasses would like slide down, so he'd be like. There was a big like deep breath that was taken with an elbow right here. So, and the alcoholic part was just watching Sensei drink. And growing up as a teenager with having friends that are like, oh, let's drink or whatever, I'm like, oh my God. Like, I wish I could like bring people at like 11 o'clock in the morning. Because like my stepdad would like pass out by 2, 3 o'clock. Sensei would continue. So like at like 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, I would come home from like high school for lunch or something like that. And I would go downstairs to like either like roll a joint or whatever. And like he always needed help. Obviously, he like couldn't drive or anything like that. So like I've taken him to like Bottle King where he would need to buy his liquor and stuff, and it was a very common thing. But like just watching this man, and he was a very brewed, heavy-set man. But the point of the story was that in the 7 years that I knew my stepfather, as well as I got to know my stepfather between the ages of like 11 and 19 or so. By 19, there was already personal issues with him and my mom, and he wasn't in my life. So it wasn't that long of a period of time. It was just a formidable years, as they call it. And watching this man, it wasn't even drinking, Jamie. It was like he barely ate food. Like I swear to God, I barely saw him eat. And I mean, I guess he ate his calories, but I would say that that man can drink more beer than any human being on earth, and like still be standing. Like I do. I'm like looking back at it now. I remember he would like complain that I had a Mustang because the trunk wasn't big enough for his 24 packs. And I asked him, I was like, why don't you just get like 2 kegs and call it a day? And his answer was very smart. He's like, I wouldn't count them. You know, he's like, here I know how much I drank, and he's like, you know, the numbers have to be the same because, like, you know, we measure this. And you remember, he's an engineer. He was far from a moron. He was a very intelligent human being. It's just that in Russia, nobody would allow him. He was married, he had children and stuff like that. One of my stepfather's friends had 9 fingers. Another one of my stepfather's friends beat his wife, and she ran away from him on the side of 78, and a truck killed her.
Oh my God.
And he was almost charged with murder, but then he wasn't. So this is the kind of people. Oh, my stepfather was also friends with the only black man I've ever met that spoke Russian. It was so scary. You have to understand, for a family that comes from Russia to America, whenever, you know, like it's very easy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you meet like, Здравствуйте, меня зовут Peter, and he has this like super heavy Georgian accent, and like the dude was cool, I thought, because growing up in America, I always looked up to black people in the entertainment community. Most of the black people that I interacted with were pretty solid guys because in martial arts, the black community is very big in martial arts to get their kids off the streets.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
You know, so like there's a lot of strong African American, Island American figures in martial arts. Like Jimmy and I, one of the reasons why we get along is he's flipped, so he was a gymnast as part of like world-class gymnastics. I was a gymnast when I was a kid, and my dad moved me into martial arts. Jimmy went from gymnastics to boxing and things like that. So we had very similar childhoods with same fucked up dads. So, and the same aloof moms. But no, Jimmy's mom was really nice. I actually miss her very much. She's really nice. She fucking sent her gym. Anyways,
Nice.
it's people like that like I often wonder that, my ex-wife knows the things that I've done for the thousands of people that I've interacted with. So I'm curious to see how what I submitted today is reacted to, because essentially if I didn't hide the message within an hour of communication post plus, I don't think that I would ever be able to actually express to everyone that the only reason I ever had a single problem was because someone else lied. And it's hard to accept as a human being who's constantly looking for ways to take responsibility on his own shoulders. And Jamie and I, we have a lot in common in those aspects where we not only have been blamed for a lot of things that are not our fault, we find ourselves to be so strong and such individuals that we're able to shoulder the blame of other people's actions, because we both recognize that life is just too short.
Yeah.
It's just too short to engage in these fabricated conflicts with healthy individuals who want nothing but bad for either me or her or our 5 children. Because no human being who actually loves a single one of those 5 children would ever want them separated from their parent. Ever.
Period.
There's nothing else to say. I need a break. You think I could take one?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Let's do it.
Peace, son. Hey, Jamie.
Hey, Dan.
So we just finished another great day. The reason why I say that is, oh man, I genuinely have never met another person that has these glasses. So when people ask me questions, I have to almost school them in the. How's my hair?
Looks good.
It's all right.
Yeah.
All right.
You're wolfing out. You're starting.
So one of the reasons why I like to wear these glasses on camera is because when you can you do me a huge favor?
Mm-hmm.
Can you get the cleaning kit and
Yeah.
can you kindly clean these?
I can. Can you
Sure. So believe it or not, a lot of the times when you see me freak out on Jamie, either in public or on YouTube, there's like a whole backstory behind it. Is that true, Jamie?
Always. Always.
Jamie, honestly, have I ever been abusive towards you?
Oh my God, no.
No, seriously. This
No.
isn't-
Just because people don't understand the relationship doesn't mean it's right or wrong. I mean, it's what I want it to, like what you want it to be. So like, I don't really care what anyone else thinks about it.
What I'm
You've
saying
never
to you-
been
what I'm saying-
abusive or mean, like mean. Sometimes you're a little mean.
Well, can we expand on that? I mean, my goal is to be less mean and to be more transparent with both the audience, myself. Can you give me a little examples of when I was mean so that I can be a better boss? Does that make any sense? Not just to you, but we're on the precipice of me restarting everything, especially now that we're in federal court.
Right.
We have the ability to address the things that simply were ignored for about half a decade. So to me, I'm about to dive into the next phase of my life, and I would really like to know from firsthand experience some of the instances of where I can improve, and you should be brutally honest.
Sure.
Since you have the floor. Go ahead.
I think that a lot of times our conflict arises because your brain and you as just a human move much faster than regular people, and I don't think that people really understand how fast you move and how many steps ahead you think. So like sometimes it's hard to catch up to you and where you are. It takes like a regular human a bit more time to do the things. And I think that there's just like a little bit of a misunderstanding about that. And so sometimes it raises some issues.
It sounds like, to me, who is constantly being accused of being a narcissist, it really sounded like more like a compliment.
Yeah.
It kind of sounded to me like, hey, Daniel, you're really smart. But I was just more in tune with examples of when I was mean to you.
Yeah,
Like,
so usually
I know how
you micromanage something.
You don't have to. You could say it
when you
I
micromanage things.
All right,
I
well,
say that,
can you give me an example of? Isn't that cool?
like your words in your head are very clear and succinct, and you know what you're going to say. And sometimes.
Which parts in particular of your work do you not like that I micromanage? Because let's be transparent. My goal behind my micromanagement is not to actually micromanage, but rather to get a product that not only is better, meaning like I don't get any pleasure from micromanaging. I want to be less micromanaging, and it sounds like you want me to micromanage less, right?
Not everything, just certain things. But my only real beef with you
What?
is the time thing and not being able to keep up. And you
have to be a little bit. Look, I want everyone to understand. Jamie doesn't do any of the legal work for me. I work my ass off to make sure that when I submit a motion or anything like that, that's done by me. She assists me in some of the rudimentary things, such as photocopying or scanning or things like that. So Miss Resnick over here doesn't want to overstep her boundaries and not speak about certain things. So this is me giving you carte blanche as far as the reality. You can reference your work as just certain work without having to reference any form of exposure that you may or may not have for this invented narrative that you are some sort of a bad person and are breaking the law in some way by doing your job. So go ahead.
No, I'm 100% not. Once again, it's
not once again. You haven't actually given me an example.
I have given you
micromanaging is a very valid thing, except that
it's not the micromanaging part that I gave you my answer. The first answer I gave you is my answer. My only personal issue with our working relationship is you think things take a lot shorter than they actually take.
Okay, well, believe it or not, I apologize for that. It's just that I'm under immense amount of pressure to perform on a daily basis and to complete. Like, so for example, if you look at the backboard behind me, Ms. Resnick is supposed to be changing the tiles as the videos continue. Ms. Resnick did not change the tiles, and at the same time, I am forced to micromanage. So
this is a good example. So that's a misunderstanding. I was under the assumption that this was today's number because you are still continuing the same.
But Ms. Resnick, don't you understand that in order to clear that misunderstanding up, we would have to have either a conversation or I would have to micromanage?
Yeah.
You understand that, right?
This is one of the things you should absolutely micromanage.
But it's too much work. It's too much work to distinguish between where I should micromanage and where I should be hands off if you don't tell me examples. I'll give you an example. What I really tried to express in the earlier videos regarding my stepfather wasn't necessarily the stories that I told, but the traumatic aspect of the way those stories were looked at by me. And what I mean by that is this. My stepfather had a friend who lived in Chicago. This man was a part of the academia world of Russia. This man was extremely intelligent, and he had one son who was a child prodigy, and he played the piano and was like this little baby genius. I was approximately 12 years old, and my brother was approximately 17 years old, and my brother really wanted to go to University of Chicago. So my stepfather actually took my brother and drove him to Chicago, and they hung out with my stepfather's friend, and my brother had a great time. And I believe that my brother, he tried to get into Princeton as his first, early acceptance?
First choice?
Early acceptance?
Oh, early decision.
Early decision. So his early decision was Princeton, and he got waitlisted in Princeton. But then he got into both Duke and University of Chicago, and he chose Duke, and it was a pretty good choice. Poor Mark, real shitty luck of the draw, University of Chicago or Duke. No, Mark worked hard at studying textbooks and regurgitating them in small doses, known as tests. But in general, I can't take anything away from him, but I was jealous of the relationship my stepfather and my brother had, because my brother never really put an effort into it, whereas I was really committed. I was into karate. I could have easily had a good, and that's one of the reasons why I have very fond memories, because one of the things I'm not telling you, Jamie, is my stepfather comes from a really great family, and they treated me so fucking well that my stepfather's cousin, who he treated like a brother, drove me to my bar mitzvah. and he blasted. He drove this Buick, and he drove with his leg. And he was my idol for many years, and he still is. I love him, and his name's Adik, and he's my cousin David was in the car with me, and my uncle Adik, he had one of those. Remember those no fear stickers that people had in the thing, and my cousin had one of those dudes, and he was pissing on the fear sticker.
Oh God.
So that was his expression. And
it was those were Calvin and Hobbes and Bart Simpson.
Right. It was.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It was Calvin and Hobbes. It was not the tiger. It was the human.
Yep.
You're absolutely right. And he was peeing on the.
I remember.
And it wasn't. It was the no fear, and he was peeing on the no fear.
God.
It was the making of.
Of course.
There's cool. Well, and he blasted this techno song, and I'll never forget it. It was called Good, super good, super good. And my cousin David, who actually has a really great sense of humor, he looked over at me and he goes, "Hey, is he saying super glue?" It was great. And it was a long ride. It was in Sparta, New Jersey. It was at Sparta Country Club, which is a catering hall on the lake. And it was about 45 minutes away or so, but it was a great time. And he was already married, or his girlfriend at the time was the same woman that he's with now. Her name is obviously Tanya. Everyone's named Sasha, Boris, or Tanya in these stories, other than the people that I really like. And so my uncle Adik and his father and his mother and my stepfather's parents, they were really, really awesome to me. So they treated me as one of their own immediately.
Amazing.
It was really, really, really refreshing. And my own family was really difficult. So being with people that were loving and nurturing was one of the best experiences as a child. So if anyone sees these videos, these human beings are saints. Galia and Lova and Fundator, they're just really great people. And Lova was his brother. I didn't even see him, but Adik's dad is one of the most honorable men of code and honor you'll ever meet in your life. Honestly.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Compliment.
A fucking real deal motherfucker. Hey, I need a 2-second break. I'll be right back. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I often have very interesting conversations with Miss Resnick, and we have these in-depth conversations where we talk about our childhoods, and I listen to a lot of her stories, and I empathize with them because it wasn't the simplest childhood, and as an adult, reflecting on something like that is even harder because the majority of your childhood is filled with lies. Whereas mine was filled with unfiltered truth.
Yeah, big difference.
Yeah, so believe it or not, both were traumatic, but the core difference of the two of them, I actually knew what was happening versus Miss Resnick, who was lied to the majority of her life. Even the concept of being loved by people, my mom never pretended to love me.
Right.
I never had a birthday party.
Right.
She wasn't secretive. She's like, "Oh, Daniel, he'll be fine." And I'm like, "Mom, I'm 9. She didn't see me as a 9-year-old.
Right. She saw you as a grown-ass man.
Right, and I mean, I was. I didn't mind it, but what I was basically getting at is that when you look at the lack of... Oh, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. It's the end of the day, when you look at the I can't do this with the glasses. So when you look at the reality of my childhood, when you look at the kindness that these people showed me, it really went a very long way in a world where I have very little of what you had and what you took for granted, which is stability, love. I've never had a dinner with my mom at night in my home. Ever. In my life. We never one time sat down to eat.
Wow.
So when I met my wife, it was a really big deal that they ate together. And I was like, that's one of the reasons why I'm so upset about this whole thing, is because I married a family. I didn't just marry a human being,
Yeah.
a family that did me dirty, like in a big way. And you know, off camera, Miss Resnick was really nice to me. She said, you know, you've grown a lot, and you didn't touch certain subject matters that really showed a positive side of you. And I say to everyone that I could only do it for so long, but I will tell you an amazing story. And the reason why it's amazing is because reflective versus passive is very different. So when the story was happening, I didn't find it to be that amazing of a story, but looking back at it, oh, a little bit of Aquaphor. Thanks, Ms. Resnick. So looking back at it, check this out. So Mark and I, we were very close as kids. No matter what he says, Mark was my best friend for a very long time. And Mark went to University of Chicago, met these people. Eventually they went to, my mom and Sasha left me at home alone. I think I stayed with the Mikesons, and they went to Chicago, to do business with Sasha's friend, okay? And I tried to get from my mom, like, what business are they doing? And she kept saying, he has a medical device, he has a medical device. So I'm like, to me, I'm always inquisitive, you know, to me, like, the less information you give me, the more I'm gonna be curious about it. So I'm like, what kind of fucking medical device did this guy invent? Because remember, like, we're all immigrants, so I understood the value of a medical device in a society that values patents and things like that. In Russia, you can invent whatever you want. You're not getting shit. But in America, there are a lot of super intelligent human beings. And so I'm curious, what is this medical device? What is this medical device? And this is I'm going to tell you right now what year it was. If Mark graduated in 96, this is 95 to 96. And I'm going to ask you for a question.
Okay.
So, essentially, my mom and Sasha go to stay at these people's houses, but I'm not getting the information, and they're kind of like being hush-hush about this medical device. I can't understand why.
Okay.
So this man comes in, and he's like, all right, so we did really well. We started selling this device on the streets in Chicago, like guerrilla marketing, like old school style.
Okay.
And I'm like, whoa, what kind of medical devices?
Are you selling in the streets?
Yeah, like what
Right.
what's going on? And the thing is, these are highly intelligent human beings. This isn't like a gypsy convoy. So I'm kind of like extremely careful as to jump to conclusions.
Okay.
And then I see this like black box, which is about, I want to say, dimension-wise, probably this thick. And it's about the size of a pencil case.
Okay.
It looks like it could hold about a dozen pencils or so.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a crude rudimentary image on it with like a bunch of rings and stuff like that. And I opened it up, and it was essentially like a rod with a bunch of rings. And I'm like, and I could read it, and it says the erector. And I'm like, no fucking way. And remember, I'm like 13 going on 61. So I had a very advanced, unfortunate knowledge of the male biology, because my dad didn't really believe in like discretion as much as you would think, and he kind of just left the porn collection out in his closet. It was hidden and stuff like that. But remember, I was 12 years old, my brother was 17, I was 11, my brother was 16, I was 10, my brother was 15. My brother did not care that his 10-year-old brother was being exposed to porn. My brother was not exposed to porn when he was 10. You know, that's a big difference between me and his development. So he doesn't really take responsibility for any of that, and that's okay. I'm not like pointing a finger, but I'm just trying to explain to my brother that if I was a 15-year-old, I would never engage in what he engaged in, because of the irresponsibility and the nature of what was going on. Because if he was intelligent enough to skip the 6th grade, he sure should know that he shouldn't show his younger brother who's in 3rd grade porn.
Yeah.
But
one would think.
That's Mark for you. So I go in
with a brother like that.
yeah, exactly. So we go. So I look at this thing, and I'm 13 or so, And I was born in 1982, so 95, I'm 13
It's called
and
the
a half.
erector.
It's called the erector.
Oh my God.
So
okay.
I look at this thing and I'm like, all right, there's no way this is what it is. And obviously, like, my mom is a part of this.
God.
So, like, you can imagine how humiliating the entire process is. So I'm like, oh my God. And one thing I'm not telling you about this story is Mark and I share trauma when it comes to our mother and the noises that she would make.
God, you've talked
And it is so
gross.
traumatic that I can't even talk about it. And if my boys are watching this, I would say, boys, Nana Rita doesn't understand the difference between an adult and a child. And that's the best way for me to describe it, is because adults, when they love each other, there's physical lovemaking, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But when you are not aware that the actions of your lovemaking are inappropriate for children, boys, you are not fit to be a mother or a father, because the actions that you do as an adult will affect your children for the rest of their lives, which is why this content is so important, is because everything I say on here will be up forever. And it is so important for everyone to understand that it takes a lot of courage to be able to stand up and say, this is my position when I was 43 years old, and this is the truth about my life. Rather than being heralded for my strength of conviction and no one else on earth being able to do what I do, I am ridiculed, mocked, and thrown under the bus on a daily basis, to the point where I've gotten used to it. I've gotten used to it. My children were kidnapped from me, and law enforcement supported it. I promise you, I'm not making this story up. I haven't seen my boys in 9 months. Miss Resnick hasn't seen her kids in 7 or 8.
224 days.
No one even gives a fuck. You've got human beings that have guns and badges that arrest the guy that's screaming, hey, there's crime that's going on in front of your noses. And instead of dealing with the crime, they just kept arresting me. Yeah. They currently have a $100,000 plus collection of mine, which they refuse to give back. The Livingston police literally stole my stuff and threw me in jail without due process. And no one gives a fuck. Until today. You see, what I invented, ladies and gentlemen, is my ability to forever deal with the court system that wants to ignore me, throw me out, and throw me in the garbage. I invented the unlisted court processing system of evidence submission. And it's extremely powerful. It's far more powerful than you recognize. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you by not showing you. You see, the most important things that I film are only seen by the eyes of the people that make decisions. So if they choose to continue to break the law, the rest of the country needs to see what's going on in Essex County and the state of New Jersey. If they choose to do their jobs, follow the law, then there is no issues whatsoever. You understand? Mm-hmm. There is no extortion. There's no threats. There's none of that. No extortion. Michael Avenatti, this is the opposite of. This is a human being who would have publicly posted this content, but instead chose to make it private for discretionary purposes so that I could submit it as formal evidence. Because I don't want to violate the rules of the court, while at the same time I don't want to violate my own rights to the U.S. Constitution. That balance is virtually impossible to achieve. It has taken companies 30 years to fail. I did it. Trust me. I know you don't know what I'm talking about. When Jamie says that she's upset at me, that's because I have to get products to market before anyone else does. Believe it or not, I love what I do. I love my job. I'm an entrepreneur.
My job too.
Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
What is your job?
The assistant to Daniel and Risis.
I mean, would you like to elaborate that, or would you like to just keep it as a ominous?
I like it ominous.
I didn't think. See, believe it or not, guys, like, what's mine and Jamie's crime? Being friends. You know, like, let's be honest here,
Yes.
okay? You're never gonna see us do anything crazy because we don't do anything crazy. So it took us a couple of months to realize that what people are saying about us, they actually mean. I couldn't even understand some of the things that were happening because they were happening so out of character from the human beings that I've known for a quarter of a century or more. It doesn't make sense even to this day. And it wasn't until I really took a deep dive through the lens of the imagination. It wasn't until I realized, hey, What if the enemy is abstract? What if it's not a human being? What if what you're fighting is not an actual human? What if you're fighting an idea? What if you're fighting a concept? What if you're fighting an ideology? And what if you're fighting something that not only cannot be beaten, but feeds off of your anger, frustration, and complete and utter honorability, your strength of character as a man, to doing the right thing? What if this thing is designed to destroy anything and anyone that gets in the way of its influence? And what if this is real? You see, ladies and gentlemen, there's a very famous quote that I've learned to really accept over the last year. And that is, hey, it's not paranoia if it's true. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I've had a certain hypothesis, and that hypothesis come true. So for example, the judges who have made decisions that are literally illegal, and they conform and support criminal activity, those judges are so heavily influenced on social media that their metadata will clearly reflect the amount of influence that they're under. And human beings who are under the influence, such as alcohol or social media, should never be able to don a black robe. Maybe if they want one for a bathrobe, but never in the metaphorical sense to be a judge. And if they're not able to submit their social media publicly for a review, then they're hiding something very sinister. And please remember that if I'm on YouTube saying something, that doesn't mean that I've snooped or looked or researched. That just means that it's true. Because I've done the calculations and I've run all the mathematical probabilities and scenarios. And once I get to 100%, I'm able to announce it. That the human beings that I've chosen to break the law are so heavily influenced by this very similar influencers that are going and supporting the people that are causing my children immense amount of harm. Every human being that is partaking in social media right now is losing the ability to have original thought. Without the ability to have original thought, you are no longer able to sustain your biology on a long-term scale. So the decisions your body and brain make are not based on what's best for you or your surrounding system. It's based on marketing, based on the same concept that runs the idea that Selly, Monster, and Red Bull are different products. They are identical. One is owned by Coke, the other is owned by Pepsi, and the other one is the real Monster. Red Bull has $14 billion in gross revenue.
Crazy.
Please understand that influence, alcohol, they're just words. What influences you? For example, one can easily say that Miss Resnick is an influence on me. One can easily say that I have Miss Resnick under some sort of a Svengali spell. But the reality is, at the end of the day, you have to choose which one it is.
Yeah.
And no one is able to make a logical decision of which one of the two of us. And now remember, the truth is neither one of us. It's just a friendship.
Right.
But the concept of two human beings having a platonic friendship with a third human being for 5 years, and then, I mean, the rest of it I just choose not to talk about. There's a great show. It's called DTF St. Louis. I don't know what DTF stands for, but it's probably very appropriate, and I'm sure that the characters in there have nothing to do with an emotional threesome. So you have nothing to worry about, and I personally didn't even know what an emotional affair was until my wife taught me about it. And once I realized that, it really made my eyes open to the fact that my wife is getting information from places that I'm not getting. Meaning that my friendship with Miss Resnick was out in the open. But when a human being is by themselves and looking at their own social media feeds, that is isolation. Isolation in a marriage is one of the first steps towards the disillusionment of the union. This is just my opinion. I've only been with one human being for the last 26 years, so what would I know? It's been a rocky year.
You could say that.
No, but I'm confident that we're gonna get through this together. No, I'm kidding. Too soon? No. Look, maybe I'll save it for the non-existent set at the Laughing Buddha. The reality is very simple. Obviously, I want to run my own comedy club and incorporate it as part of the business model that I have. It's not a comedy club, it's just a stage. And that's the name of the club, Just a Stage. Because the truth is that comedy, it's just one of those things that doesn't work when there's just a stage. That's it. That's a great name for a comedy club. You know why? Because it's just a fucking stage. And the better a comic is, the less likely he'll come back to your shitty little venue. So I'm very proud to feature Lehigh Valley's finest, because they're not going to be driving an hour to pay some exuberant amount of money for a toll, gas, parking, and everything you can imagine. But there's some funny fucking people in New Jersey. And you'll see that the reality is that the less funny you tell everyone people are, the more of a good time people will have. But when you go into these grand expectations of, get ready to laugh, guys! What we have is an amazing show, let's clap it up! Like, that's too much.
No, I was like forced into laughing. I was like, oh my God, I'm not laughing enough. This guy's yelling at us to laugh. I kept being like, what's wrong with this crowd? I was like, well, how about what's wrong with the comics?
No, he was like,
if
we
funny,
got a really bad crowd today. It's probably because of the Knicks game. I want to be like, I didn't know that people go to comedy clubs and sporting events. I mean, how could one person be at two places at the same time? So, like, you would think that, like, there's other humans in New York that are not part of the 50,000 humans that are the Garden, you know, like, maximum. You know, you would think that the other 8 million human beings would be enough of a market, 20 actually, when you include the rest of the tri-state area. But the Knicks game was their excuse because geographically they're near the Knicks game. Look, let me explain to you something, okay? If you don't take a challenge where I'll up the stakes even, you know what? I'm not going to up the stakes. The truth is, I want to see how engaged or engaging these people are. What am I asking for? A conversation, a basic understanding of a business model that I'll do for you guys. I'll run the whole revenue model. I'll run the entire projections of a scalable franchise that you could be a part of. I'll run all aspects. I'll even run a retirement scenario. I'll run a real estate model. I'll run all of these things. But at the end of the day, you have to have a set of balls to take a risk. And that's what being an entrepreneur is about. It's risk. And I'm not here to teach anyone about risk. I'm here to teach everyone about risk management. Because George Costanza, he knew very little about risk management. I know even less than George Costanza. I know you don't know the episode I'm talking about. That's the best part. Do you remember when George pretends to be blind because he has to read the risk management book?
He has it, the book comes in Braille. Yes.
Yeah, no. He sees like
the guy on the subway reading
like Isaac Hayes looking motherfucker.
Yes.
Going in Braille, and but like he's got a book on tape, but he's like, I love books on tape. It ruined me from Braille because you know it's a. So he gets this book about risk management.
Someone else read it.
No. The voice. He's like, I can't read these books anymore because I can't listen to the sound of my own voice.
Yeah. And it's his voice.
And then he gets it, and it's literally Jason Alexander voicing it and stuff like that. And these anecdotes and paradoxes are good enough for the 90s, and they're definitely good enough for today. But when it comes to comedians, and this is where I really enjoyed the experience, is that I'm really looking forward to the second time, the third time, the 20th time, the 30th time. Because when I make a commitment for something, I don't really see or judge my performance until I reach a plateau. So for example, my first one, I very heavily criticize. 1 through 20, I'm not really going to criticize that much. I'm going to dive into the process and try to learn as much as I humanly can. Because I don't believe that a human being who is committed and dedicated, and I don't even know the difference between the two of them, but I know that you can't go to an institution and be in a straitjacket if you're dedicated. But if you're committed, you'll get committed. These puns and plays on words are very easy for me because I know a lot of languages and I've been made fun of my entire life. My last name is Risis, so I went from being a candy to a terrorist organization, all in the same generational gap. So, if you drop the R in my name, I'm a terrorist organization. And always remember, you can't even have a crisis without my last name. So you had a C and then there's a K and blah, blah, blah. The core reality of everything is that when I go into an entertainment venue, I very rarely have partaken in anything in my entire life in a structured entertainment format for the purposes of earning a living or being a part of it, because there are human beings who engage in fooling people into making them believe that for the money that they paid, they're getting what they paid for. I don't believe that for what I saw on Saturday night. I didn't find the comics neither to be entertaining, nor was it justifiable to charge money for something that truly was not very good. And I'm not saying that it wasn't good because of the management. I loved the couches. The dog was adorable. The location was fantastic. But the issue is that when you have human beings who are not able to prepare themselves to a point where they continuously do the same microphone against the lower chin that you've seen in every comedian on Netflix, and everyone is obsessed with replicating success rather than creating their own original product, because fear overwhelms. Even the comedians that are on stage were shaking. Now, I know that it was open mic night, and I know a lot of them are young, but I don't understand how human beings are able to post their life in front of the world, but then not be able to coherently discuss some of the funniest parts on a 5-minute set. Voluntarily, mind you. And my confusion doesn't stem from reality. The truth is, I'm not confused. I'm explaining to everyone that, Dan explaining, not man explaining. I'm Dan-splaining to everyone, Dan-splaining, 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 Dan-explaining. So, Dan-splaining, I'm Dan-splaining to everyone that we live in a generation of young adults who have been raised to communicate silently their most inner thoughts. Comedy is rooted around crossing the social boundaries in a controlled environment that is designed to not offend, but rather enlighten human beings and open their eyes to a whole world of different type of thinking through the lens of the comedian, which really begs the question of who is the comedian and who is the audience member when I was watching the show.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I realized that I have an idea that I want to present via an actual show. So I have a full production line, an entire revenue model, exactly the cost per unit, forecasting.
You have thought of everything. It's
Literally
unbelievable.
everything you can only imagine. I just need them to grow a set
Of?
balls and get rid of their ego, remove the concept of being offended by entertainment, and understand that the more people hate me, the better the show will be.
Yep.
So I don't go out of my way for people to hate me. As a matter of fact, I try for people to like me through this altruistic, weird, fast-talking, the fifth member of the Hangover lifestyle. But the reality is very simple. Human beings will choose to make their opinion based on their own memories and their own personal livid experiences. And I say livid, not lived, because it is the visceral, it is the traumatic memories that people will remember, such as this. So when I was 13 and a half years old, I see this pile of erectors on my kitchen table, and believe it or not, talking to your mother about what you think may or may not be a penile erection device wasn't my first choice that morning. So instead of that, I looked at Sasha and I was like, what are you guys doing with this? And he's like, we're going to be selling them. I'm like, where are you going to be selling this? He goes, in Midtown. I go, where in Midtown? He's like, right on the side of the street. And obviously, like, you know, like, I'm like, can I come? You know, I asked to come. So we get to, and his idea was very simple. I think he did 2 locations. He did Chinatown and he did Midtown, because he said that's where the porn is sold. So they're, you know, the fact that he's selling a medical device on a appendage with no insurance, no FDA clearance, and 0 license to, like, he put the pedal to the metal, or he put the pedal in pedophile, but not pedophile, pedophile. It's the material wrote itself, and I needed to go because this is a pre-recorded thing, like pre-video stuff, and I knew that whatever bullshit he was going to tell me about what happened. So we get to Midtown, and no one is buying. Surprise, surprise! They were
one's buying
they're
the
like
erector?
$40 in the mid '90s. So no one is buying his penis device, and apparently, he had some traction, and this is before social media or anything. And what's really fascinating about this thing is that this was at a time where, like, Viagra, like, watch this. Ask your little machine over there, what year did Viagra, and I remember it was during Super Bowl that it first, like,
What year did Viagra what?
come out, and when exactly was it announced? And I believe the Super Bowl had something to do with it, obviously. Why not announce humanity's greatest discovery on its national holiday? So my thing about that is that we made one sale, okay? And I was there, and his son may or may not have been there. His son is even younger than me. He was like 9 years old. So, like, to me, I'm like, this is, like, so fucking weird. So then cops come up. So what's the answer?
Viagra was officially approved by the U.S.
I would say
Food and Drug
98
Administration
is my
on
answer.
March 27th, 1998.
Oh, I was right. Okay,
Nailed it.
awesome. I'm not a Viagra historian, by the way, but yeah, go ahead.
It was not a quiet rollout. Pfizer immediately issued a national press release after approval. Major outlets like
Yeah, that's what I said. It was
CNN
the
picked
greatest.
up the
It was
same
like
day.
there might as well have been fireworks lit off every single time.
It
the
was
president-
framed as a medical breakthrough.
Right. They're not wrong. So the core reality is that the guy that was doing this, he was on the precipice. Now, please remember, like, dick inventions have been peddled for like hundreds of years. Ever since the invention of inventions, one of the first things people tried to do was like fix human problems, and like, there's some men that like have an issue with it, and I'm comfortable enough to discuss the fact that I was like, a lot of people don't understand that being really hyper is very good in certain aspects. Certain things it's not, but when it comes to certain aspects of life, it's good. Okay? So when I saw that this man was actually on the precipice of something crazy good, meaning like, imagine if this product actually worked.
Yeah.
So I'm like 13 and a half years old, and this is like the weekend, so I'm just like so excited to like tell Gary the story, and I'm just watching this thing, and it is humiliating is an understatement. There's a whole different level of humiliation when you're in the middle of New York City with your stepfather, your mother's there, and they're selling penis erectile devices, and you're 13 and a half years old.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, this
Not
is a true
cringe at
story.
all.
Not cringe at all. And I was most of the time I was there, I was really looking for a hole in the ground that I could just dive into, maybe a pit to hell of any form. And because I thought that, 42nd Street was a cesspool of, nefarious, like, seedy activity, like the devil would have some sort of a portal there where you could just like bypass a life of depression and just go right to hell. But unfortunately, I was there to witness what I'm about to tell you, which was actually relatively entertaining. So, the cops break up the vendors that don't have licenses. So the cop comes over. He's like, what do you guys got here? So, like, the scientist steps forward. You should see this. He, like, beelines. He was taking a break. He beelines, and he's like, officer, this is a medical breakthrough, and like at no time, and the cop's like, yeah, where's your license? He's like, we don't, like, he had some answers or whatever, and like the cop was kind of like a normal human being, and he's like, what is this? And he's like, well, this is a medical device. You put it on your penis, and you go like this, and the cop's like, you have a license to sell this? Because, like, the cop's right. I mean, like, you could easily deform a human being. They could put this thing on and start jogging, fall. Like, who's taking the liability for a guy who has his dick severed because he put on this thing that, like...
He bought in Midtown.
He bought it on the street of Midtown with no FDA approval whatsoever from my stepfather and his partner. And there was, like... We looked like a band of gypsies. And, like, mind you... I'm dying because I don't know if I'm embarrassed or I find it funny or, by the way, the erector didn't just go away that day. It made it kept coming back over and over and over again. And I don't think it was until Viagra came out that this man's dream of being an innovator in penile. And one of the things, and I'm genuinely saying this based on anyone who's actually seen this product, is like, I'm a human being, and I, like, to my boys, I would say the same thing. Like, be very careful of what tattoos you get. I didn't say to get tattoos or not get tattoos. All I said was be careful of what tattoos you do get. Why? Because humans that don't understand that certain decisions that they make can be life-altering forever, no matter what. So when it comes to putting an object which has a steel rod and polyethylene or polyurethane multiple rings on it, you ask yourself, what is the purpose of cutting off circulation to a part of your member to make it engorged if you're not able to use it? You understand?
Yeah.
Like I'm not really sure about, you know, like I said, my boys would watch this channel one day. I don't want to talk about this in 20 years. I just want to be able to get my hand. Are you Googling this thing?
I actually am.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. I was like, is Jamie really gonna? Because she is like balls deep in the actual subject matter.
I am.
Was I right? Is this a real thing? Chicago, Illinois.
So there is something known as the erector.
He owns the rights.
It was invented in 1959 by Freddie W. Sell. He was granted a patent for a device known as the erector. However, this one sounds a little bit different.
Well, it's a steel rod with
this
two.
This doesn't have a steel rod.
Well, and why don't you Google erector Chicago penis Chicago, Illinois 90s? Okay, who knows what the fuck is gonna come up. So the reason why I say this is because.
Yes. So it's called an erector sleigh.
Oh, it's a real thing. Sleigh. Oh my god. And I own Pro Sleigh.
Yep.
So
oh my god.
This is why I own Pro Sleigh. Holy shit.
SLEIGH.
What? When did the word? So the point is, there's Pro Sleigh, and I had no idea. I knew that there was something that bothered me about Pro Sleigh has nothing to do with any penis or vagina or any inappropriate things. It is a proprietary tool in the court system. Yep. With a steel rod, though. So like, can you imagine being a partner of someone wearing that?
How? That's my question.
Believe me, off camera, you can dive into this thing.
I'm gonna.
But believe me, I was a part of the distribution network for the original erector, and I'm not sure if he sold the patent or. Like, I was so scared of the idea of even being successful at this thing. Can you imagine if your mom and stepdad are known as the erector couple?
Imagine.
Like, just to add that to the embarrassment of the dead bodies.
That's funny.
And the fucking insanity known as the childhood of Daniel M. Risis, you've got the erector. Apparently, Slay is part of the brand, but I assure you, I don't see...
Santa's sleigh, not Dan's sleigh. Different sleigh.
Papa's got a brand new bag.
Word.
I don't know. I got to be honest with you. I don't know how Santa's sleigh. And this is where like being Jewish is really awesome because you can play the Jew card and just get out of the subject matter. Be like Jew card really quickly. No clue how a sleigh is referenced in penal appendages or.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's what it is.
I get it. I just think it's funny that penis sleigh. And they're both P-Slay. One is Pro-Slay.
You're right.
One is based on the American court system. And the other one is sheer marketing insanity. And when I say that there is a root form of an answer somewhere. And I would say that if I were to guess, I think that this man had something to do with the proprietary rights of the trademark. And then he might have packaged it and sold it off to something that was a little bit more coherent in their distribution. And Jamie and I were talking about alcohol, and obviously that went to distribution, and we discussed about distributorships, and essentially it all comes down to the refrigerated truck. And a lot of people don't understand how the innovation of the refrigerated truck really changed the dynamics of all distribution systems. So the trucks that were beverage trucks that had coolers on them always dominated the trucks that did not, because who wants to have alcohol that wasn't transported at the proper temperatures? And that's where it really starts. And where it ends is the erector. And the reason why I say that is because within the context of these very infamous business stories, we as a humanity or a society can learn a lot. And one of the things that I learned throughout all of my youth is that we did not live in a digital world. These stories would have not only dominated the social media landscape, I would never be able to create more stories because I would be known as the kid who was the son of the erector couple.
Yeah.
And like, you know, just one
That
of these
really
things,
should have been your legacy, the erector sleigh.
I don't know what Jamie's talking about. I have invented some of the coolest things in the world. This video alone is a novel breakthrough in technology because I was able to really root into the issue that I have in court. And the issue that I have in court really is very simple. The courts do not let me speak.
Nope.
They allow perjury on a routine basis, and they commit fraud via a coordinated conspiracy that is done in full daylight. And so now I was able to level the playing field by creating my own format of evidence submission that they will reject, at which point I will then sue them or add it to the lawsuit or take to the Supreme Court, but I'm going to do it civilly, and I'm going to humiliate any human being who wants to go against progress, evolution, and the truth. And the reason why I say this is because humans need to learn a lesson. And that lesson is stop fucking with people that are good to you and stop bullying people that are trying to help you. That's it. It's a very simple lesson. You okay?
Yeah, it is a good lesson.
You know, when I'm able to bring to the table a revolutionary format of not only evidence submission, but categorization and the steps towards artificial intelligence eliminating the bullshit that high-priced attorneys are charging to lie in court on your behalf. And yes, of course I'm being blocked and stopped everywhere. Who in their right mind that's making millions of dollars for lying on a daily basis would ever want me to speak? Think about it. Think about how much my silence is worth, and then you will understand why. Why did all these things happen? You see, ladies and gentlemen, I'm on the precipice, the forefront, or the foreskin of the sleigh. And I say that in not a joking manner, but in the reality that, listen, this is just the tip of the dick. You have no clue of what I've actually created, invented, and why the legal community is going crazy, because it actually not only works, it's impossible to refute. You might as well give in because you're going to lose unless you're looking to stop evolution in time. And the last person on earth you would ever think would be the person to create this is the very same person who has done this over and over and over again, over 24 times in the last 26 years alone. Hey, do you recognize what I just said?
Yeah, you're kind of a big deal.
I am not a big deal. I appreciate Ms. Resnick very much, but I assure you, my head is not big, and I believe you. Believe you me, Ms. Resnick is trying to be nice like I am to her. Like, to me, I think she looks like a moo cow. She weighs over 430 pounds. But every morning, when I see her for coffee, I'm like, look, you look really nice. The truth is, I don't know how much she weighs, and I think it would be rude for me to say anything. But once she stopped drinking and was really able to take stock of the reality that she's an incredible mom, she's my best friend, and maybe I'm a loser, and maybe I'm half a homo, and maybe I'm just a total waste of a life. But I know that Miss Resnick is a really great mom, and I know that she gave birth to 3 unbelievable kids. I know Mal's a great mom, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But when it comes to this sad reality of the world that we live in, Miss Resnick isn't even able to lose weight on her own without me being somehow to blame. And the truth is, yeah, maybe Miss Resnick has to lose weight. the healthy way. So I assisted and gave her some advice for it, but she asked for it.
I did.
You know?
Yeah.
I would say, all right, fine.
You're
What
good.
percentage of your weight loss would you attribute to me versus yourself? And please be honest, because I'm going to ask you to back it up. Go ahead.
50-50.
I mean, is that an answer you're saying to avoid scrutiny? Or
No,
what do you really
50-50 because, you know, I actually have to do the work. By
Okay, what work are you doing?
By like quitting drinking and like
What
when
else
I first
except-
when I first started losing weight and stuff, I just like changed kind of how I ate, certain things about my eating habits when we first met. Yeah. I mean, when you first and I started talking about my weight.
How many bars of ice cream did you have 3 days ago?
Oh, that's different. I'm talking about when I was really fat and was trying to lose weight, not now.
Do you work out?
No.
Do you actually diet?
No.
So what work
I said
did
you
you do?
help me change my eating habits.
By the way,
I
that
never
was-
said the word diet
So
ever.
I would have to say
Ever?
that I am either 15% or 85%, and the other side is either 15% or 85%, because I don't believe that it could be a 50-50, because the concept of 50-50 or perfect symmetrical balance is not possible when it's a zero sum. So when I asked you what the percentage is, if you told me it's two separate things, I knew that you were lying, because it could only be one.
It's not.
It can't be two, and I'll tell you why. Because you can't have two winners in a
Then you
baseball
can
game.
say, fine, it's you 100%. If I hadn't
It's not
started
me
working
100.
for you, then
It's not
I'll
me.
argue with you this point.
I would take 15%, and I would give you I would say it's 85% you and 15% me in reality.
If that's what you want to say.
I know it's that because you, as much
You
as
asked me my opinion. I gave you my opinion. This is your opinion.
it's
and
not my opinion.
there we are
Mathematically,
in
I'm
the
trying. Listen, just chill out. Instead of bickering with me, please understand this, okay? If you put a gun to someone's head and said, make a choice, and they told you they can't, wouldn't you think that the end result would be catastrophic?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. I'm letting you know that this is one of those scenarios
Okay.
where it has to be 51-49 at least, if not
Sure.
more than that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying to you is this is an
So
applied
then-
math. Stop. This is an applied math channel.
Okay.
Do you understand why it can't be 50-50 in a one-on-one zero-sum event?
Sure.
No, I'm not sure. Re-explain it.
I don't. I mean, you're doing it mathematically. I'm doing it emotionally.
I'm not doing mathematically. I'm trying to teach that when it comes to the end of the day, and when you get a end of day scenario and you have a rule that says you can only attribute it at the end of the day to one of the two, you can't answer what percentage in a 50-50 split, which means that that is the only answer that you can put that would not be accurate. Meaning like any other number would be accurate except 50-50. Do you understand?
Yeah.
All right, that's what I was
So
saying.
85-15. Sure.
Damn,
There
that
you
is
go.
amazing.
Oh, how would I even think of that number?
Well,
You
the
had told me.
reason why I continue to speak to her like this is because Miss Resnick is beyond valuable, because we have this asymmetrical balance of being each other's witness in multiple matters. So our relationship and our dynamic is really hindered or hinged upon the lack of the extreme amount of discretion that we have to use when we communicate, which adds to the stress levels of the conversation. We have to be very careful of every word we say to each other. If we step over the line and one of us makes a mistake publicly, instead of being recognized as human beings that are under pressure, that haven't seen their kids in 9 months and have lost millions of dollars because of fraud, we will be looked at as one mistake that we had made in public. This is so wrong on so many levels, but please understand that if you committed kidnapping or many of the other charges that I have direct evidence of, you too will look for little minor things to silence me and Miss Resnick. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Meaning, like, I understand the motivation behind the bad actors that are continuously trying. Did you know that today I was offered a plea deal where I would have to take consent to being guilty and pay $220 fine just to get rid of it? From my own lawyer, who I fired immediately. I said, no way.
No way, Jose.
Just wanted to make it rhyme at the same time. So the issue behind all of this is that we've gotten to the point where 4 of the major 6 have been removed. My wife is probably going to have hers dismissed without an issue, and I'm being told by my attorney that I should take a plea deal for something I never did. Ladies and gentlemen, please understand that if you have not committed a crime in the United States, you are not obligated to ever plead guilty to anything. If you're under a lot of stress and your family and your attorney are putting a lot of pressure on you, take a step back and ask yourself one question. Who amongst your family and your attorney will have to face the ramifications of a guilty plea for the rest of their lives? Or is there a mirror in the room where you can just avoid the lung breath and the depression of the reality of the answer of the question? You understand? Human beings do not recognize that the decisions that they make only affect them in the long term.
Of course. So the guy who's pleading guilty, he has to deal with that the rest of his life. But the person who gave him the advice, it was going to forget about him the next day.
Meaning, people say, well, your decisions affect everyone. I agree. They affect everyone that I give a shit about, not the people I don't give a shit about, which means that if someone looks at something negative on this channel and it affects my children, yes, I care about it because I care about them. But humans have been celebrities with children for a long time. So just because I'm not famous doesn't mean I'm not a public figure, and that doesn't mean I'm not allowed to have the same constitutional rights that human beings who are making bank. I choose not to make money because the message that I have would not be able to be delivered if I was doing this for profit. That's why I'm very careful to expressly state that what you see or potentially will see on Broadway, off Broadway, below Broadway, wherever you want to see it, will be a for-profit performance so that people can completely destroy, eviscerate, humiliate me. Or pay me my money and have a nice day. My name is Dan Risis, and I assure you, if you were interested in short content, then you're in luck. Because this video is only a couple of hours long. Imagine spending your eternity with me. Hey, Jamie.
Hey, Dan.
This is the wrap-up segment. You know, one of the things I really want to express to everyone is that my work is a whole, meaning that there is no possible way for you to watch one segment of it. So if you watch a part of a video, you have to watch the entire thing. And a great example is this video. So for example, I am formally announcing that I will be filing formal criminal charges against 3 judges. I'm not going to say the names of the judges on YouTube, but I'm telling you, S has hit the fan. And the reason why I choose not to say it is because it is a formal setting. I do believe that both myself and Ms. Resnick are victims of a very, very well-coordinated conspiracy to alienate and disenfranchise our children from us as a form of retaliation for me being a whistleblower against Senator Bob Menendez and his cronies that have infiltrated the political system of this great state of the Union. This type of infiltration occurs in many forms of government. In heavily Republican facilities, you have Democrats that go in heavy Democratic states like New Jersey, you have political actors that are corrupt that infiltrate the ranks of the Democratic Party. What I'm trying to say is that the Democratic Party is not bad. They have traitors within their ranks that are performing some of the most illegal tasks you could humanly imagine. So the reality is that within the ranks of the Democratic Party, there are a lot of people that don't agree with the way the politics of the state are run. But because of their fear of being ostracized and exactly what happened to me and Ms. Resnick, they are not coming forward.
Sure.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
Can you do me a favor? Can I get a book?
Oh, yeah.
The only book that I need.
The good book.
A good book. Now, when I speak on YouTube, not only do I say the truth, I am never in an altered state. I am not on any drugs. I am the same way as I'm testifying.
Never.
I'm not drunk. I'm not any of these things.
Very strict about
This is an entire book That was right. Oh, by the way, one of the judges that I'm telling you is a good man is my bankruptcy judge, who has destroyed my life and has cost me almost $100 million. And even after everything, I still believe this man is a fair judge. And the reason why I say this is because I don't think anyone on earth would ever go out of their way to state that this human being who is responsible for allowing literally hundreds of millions of dollars to escape my estate via acts of crime in front of him is a good person and is ready to do the right thing. Because it doesn't matter at what age you realize that you've been making a mistake. It is never too late to change. And I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, not only do I speak the truth, the entire point of the comedy club is a joke. Because I am a serious human being. I do real world business. I do not complain about the hand that life has dealt me. I have been dealt one of the most difficult hands on earth when it comes to my support structure, lack thereof, and the general fight that I have to do on a daily basis just to wake up in the morning, breathe, and say to myself, my goal today is to be happy and make the people around me happy. Every single day that I'm not able to achieve this, not only do I fail, I look in the mirror at the end of the day and say to myself, is this your fault or not? And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. But when it comes to the law, it's black and white. And I'm not asking for any favors. I'm not stating any terroristic demands. I am stating that if you choose to ignore the federal laws that I am citing, then you, the judges, prosecutors, attorneys, you are no better than the criminals that are at the heart of all of this. The word perjury, you might want to look it up. It's a really big deal. It's a lot bigger of a deal than what people have been able to understand. And the word perjury will continue to be at the forefront of the lips of the human beings that want to talk about me in the state of New Jersey until all the issues are resolved through an amicable civil process. At no time will I ever come out of pocket, hurt anyone. I have no thoughts of suicide or hurting anyone, let alone the ability to do it, nor the will. I have spent my entire life being a pacifist and working my ass off to make sure that I break fights up. I grew up in the same town that I live in now. Find me a human being who said that they were bullied, harassed, or doesn't have an epic Dan Risis story. And when I say that is because everything that I'm involved in goes to such an extreme, and being a person that's positive and happy, I know for a fact that I'm able to take the happiness of my children to the extreme. And there's nothing wrong with being a positive person. There's nothing wrong with being optimistic. But there is something wrong with lying to a court and expecting there to be no ramifications. My life was destroyed because a series of lies were presented to the courts as facts. Ms. Resnick's life was destroyed. Thousands, if not millions, of other Americans' lives are destroyed because humans are able to purge and get away with it because they have the means to pay for attorneys, or they're in a political position to call in a favor or two to make sure that the voice that they're speaking is amplified, and the voice of their opponents is not only muted, it's silenced. You see, that's why this channel is so important, is because I don't get a chance to speak in court. You see, the judge in my divorce case, she saw with her own eyes, both judges with their own eyes, evidence of abuse. Abuse involving a minor. And she did nothing. Zero. There was no response. So when a human being does something like that, they don't just deserve to be stripped of the robe, and not a weird, I'm talking about a black robe of being a judge, but she also deserves to be investigated for a formal criminal charge for conspiracy to kidnap and alienate a child from their father. This is real. This is a real thing. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. Jamie and I have the same judge. This is the same person. Mm-hmm. Look at the pedigree of how she became a judge, and you will have no issues with finding out the culprit behind all of this. I want to send it off, but I can't. You know why? Because I have more to say. What?
Because I have more to say.
I do. Because no human that loses their right to be a father or a mother without doing anything wrong deserves it, ever, in the
Never.
United States.
Never.
And the people that are behind it deserve to go to jail
Yeah.
for a serious amount of time to set an example for the rest of the fucking country.
Yeah.
I am calling for immediate resignation and for a formal federal investigation into what is happening in Essex County starting tomorrow morning, which means that if I do not get this, I'll get it through a court order. I promise you this. I've done absolutely nothing wrong.
Nothing.
You think Jamie and I are fucking morons? We're like riddled drug addicts?
Yeah.
You guys have lost your minds.
Lost it.
Lost your minds. You're all glued into your phones, worrying about what people are going to think of you, worrying about not being recorded, worrying about this YouTube channel. Why don't you look in the mirror for a fucking second? Yeah, Ross, look in the mirror. Keep pretending. Keep pretending. Keep fucking faking it. My name is Dan Risis, not yours. Don't ever fucking get that confused. And when I went to that pain management specialist, and I know for a fact where I met him, that's on the second tier of the parking lot of the St. Barnabas Medical Center. If I'm wrong, I'll be the first person to say, you know what, fuck me, man, I'm wrong. But if I'm right, that means that licenses will be revoked. Because what happened to me is so illegal, and it happens on almost a daily basis, that you have all accepted it to be fact. If you're a doctor that is in the community that I'm in and knows about what happened, you can say goodbye to your license to practice medicine because you're negligent and you witnessed and you're a medical professional. And if you think that you're going to escape the responsibility of not doing anything after taking an oath as a fucking doctor to step in when a human being's life you know is about to be hurt, and you all supported it. Not a lawyer, but the doctors.
My God, you're right.
If you're a fucking doctor and you supported and had your kids play and all that stuff, say goodbye to your fucking licenses. You do not deserve to practice any medicine whatsoever, ever, in your entire life if you knew of a kidnapping allegation and you did nothing about it. There is no human being that should ever allow a medical professional that was witness to this to ever administer any medical care. Period. Same as the lawyers that have anything to do with the perjury. If you're an attorney that had anything to do with the perjury that I'm talking about, say goodbye to your licenses to practice law, and there's no human in the state that wouldn't agree with me.
Yeah.
No human. Forget about the fact that there's fucking piles of evidence behind everything that I'm saying. Recordings, everything, metadata, everything. All the evidence is on my side. I haven't seen my kids in 9 months because of a fucking YouTube channel. Have you guys lost your minds? Ask yourself one question. Would this ever be tolerated 15 years ago? And the answer is absolutely not. The only reason it is tolerated is because we're brainwashed. COVID has destroyed us as a society, and because of the sentient algorithm, we are not able to put it together. Not all of us. Most of us are just spectators. But for the very few, like myself and Miss Resnick, who are actually at the heart of a movement to stop the insanity once and for all. It's not an agenda. It's a fact of life. Humans are allowed to be happy without other people destroying their lives. This is complete insanity what you guys have done with children. 5 children. 5. 6 unlawful arrests with 0 explanation, 0 apology, 0 accountability, and nothing but a finger being pointed at a victim of domestic violence. Ed Meinhardt, you will be charged criminally as a mayor of a town where you have been pillaging and raping its citizens and pretending like it's a safe community, when in reality you have supported domestic violence. You, the mayor of Livingston, New Jersey. E.A. Dick. That's it. My name is Daniel M. Risis. I have 2 beautiful boys I haven't seen. It's going to be a year in a couple of months. For any human being who has a fucking inkling of a heart or a brain, don't ever ask me how my kids are doing until you see a video of me and the boys on Instagram or YouTube. It means I haven't been united with them. If you had the balls to ask me how my kids are doing, knowing what you're doing, please don't fucking beg for help when you see what's about to happen, because I do not believe that things happen by accident. I had a law enforcement officer taunt me by asking me how my kids are doing. I assure you, I'm not a fucking idiot. I will never retaliate in any negative way, any violence ever. But I will tell you that bullying and subliminal, subversive, weird, passive-aggressive bullshit comments are not going to be tolerated anymore. And that is coming from a father who has eaten so much fucking shit just so he can watch his kids play ball. You, the community, you have no balls. You have no balls. You have all elected to side with a criminal. And I, Daniel M. Risis, am the only person who is speaking any logic whatsoever, but because I am upset that I had my house, my other house, and 27 fucking buildings stolen from me, as well as having a right that can't be taken away from me, which is being a father. And you actually have the audacity to call me mentally ill. Mm-hmm. The only thing that's mentally ill are human beings who commit criminal acts in daylight and actually sleep at night thinking they're going to get away with it. Anyone, and it's 8:15 at night, and one of the things people need to understand is that I use this as a form of both therapy as well as evidence. It's French, or kevidence. I really settled in on the name. But essentially, there is a legal process that's going on. But at the same time, straight up, any human being that supports domestic violence is a human piece of fucking shit. Any human being that doesn't understand that if you're in a text message communication and you don't like what the person is saying, you can block that person. You've been able to block it since the iOS created the entire text message feature. So there's no way that a human being can say, what?
No, you're right.
They were harassed via text and continued to communicate with that other person, because they could have easily blocked that person forever.
Yeah.
You understand?
100%.
There's absolutely no reason why a human being has the ability to go into court and say, I was a victim of harassment via text, and not be able to answer why they didn't block the other person. You see, when you're being assaulted physically, you can't block all the time, no matter how much you try. And one of the things you need to understand is that a lot of times people get hurt when they try to stop rage and anger, because if someone is assaulting you that you love and care about, and you know that you could take a punch, you will justify the assault over and over and over again, which is why children are the victims of domestic violence so often, because they feel guilt for just being born. That is the way I felt. I've been beaten so many times in my home that I lost track of it. And as I sit here with you today, I sent evidence of some of the most unbelievable, unreal things that you can imagine that I can't even hint at, and the judge did nothing. That is because this judge supports domestic violence. The mayor, Ed Meinhardt, in front of Jamie and me, said, we're very confident about our case. We know that basically I'm a victim of domestic violence. I had all my charges dropped, but before that happened, the chief of police and the mayor told me that they're going to get me physically, verbatim, in front of a room full of people and the attorney. Not get him, but we're very confident in our case. So we don't really give a fuck that you're the victim of domestic violence. We have extensive training on domestic violence. I want to know how much money the town spent on training for domestic violence. And I want a resignation from the chief, because he's told me that his job is a calling, not a job. If it's a calling, then I'm calling for your resignation. And that calling needs to be met with either a conversation of why you feel that you deserve to be the chief, because in front of your eyes, A human being was wrongfully arrested 6 times. Ms. Resnick was arrested for doing nothing. And you supported in all of this. You have been the supporter. Ed Meinhardt and the chief of police are the most negligent in this entire thing. The mayor and the chief. If you're living in Livingston, New Jersey, and you are okay with the chief of police and the mayor supporting domestic violence, then there is something actually mentally wrong with you.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Like any human that's in the community that has not stood up and said, hey, maybe these videos are wild, but he's right. Like, humans should not be afraid for their own lives. Miss Resnick and I were almost murdered. My tires were stabbed. Crimes have been committed left and right. No one has done a single thing about it. And the support of the criminal activity has made the criminals so brazen that they're able to walk into court and lie on a daily basis. And no one does a single thing about it. To a point where there's federal declarations that are perjury and no one does a thing about it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not living in the Twilight Zone. We are living in Livingston, New Jersey, and Essex County. What you are witnessing is 100% real. I've never lied one time on YouTube, and I'm not going to start now. I assure you, what is going on is so flagrantly illegal that until the people that are good people are behind bars or in jail, you will not understand the severity of the crimes that are being committed in broad daylight, in absolute zero regard for the law or minors or their minor well-being, not minor well-beings, but the well-being of minors, or the law as it concerns mine or Jamie's rights as a parent.
Yes. Well said.
I'm calling for criminal charges for Jared Resnick immediately. What he has done is absolute perjury.
Yes.
It is perjury beyond anything, that declaration that he submitted. It's an absolute lie, and the whole community knows it. Jamie's a great mom.
Any man who can take away a woman's children.
Any
for doing
man.
nothing
Say it again.
is a
Say it
piece of
louder.
shit.
Say it louder.
Any man who takes a woman's children away for no reason is a human piece of shit.
Think about the effect it has on the children by having their mother taken from them. Think about it. Fine, you don't like me, no problem. But if you're a woman in this town, and you know Jamie's a good mom, and you know that none of this shit is true, and you did nothing about it, well, you've sealed your own fates. How can you possibly show your face around while high-fiving and talking to this man who took 3 minors away from their mother because he was too jelly?